I think you will make way more money if you spend time obsessing on how to grow online. People pay you money, not just when they see you, but when they see that you understand what they want and that you are going to deliver it to them. That's why creators are blowing up everywhere, because they realize that attention is actually the real currency. So I want you to actually use community and attention to get a few people to buy things from you fast, get a few people to be obsessed with you. So how do you build a multi-million-dollar community of people online that you're talking to for your brand that you're proud of, that has a lot of intention to it? First, I would start with... Welcome back to the Big Deal Podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. I am calling this episode How to Build a Billion-Dollar Brand Online, or How to Make Millions with Brand and Social Media. So if you want to figure out how to actually monetize social media and how to get people to care about the things that you do, this episode is going to be for you. I've invested in a lot of businesses over my career, and we've run a VC fund and we've raised lots of millions. And I'm pretty confident about this one idea, that if you can get more time with more users, you win. And if you can get more time with your users, the people who actually want what you're selling, you win. Which is why now I do TikToks on the internet. I went to Georgetown. I have a PhD. I worked at Goldman Sachs, all the fancy things. And, you know, I remember when I told my parents, they were like, have you lost your mind, your self-worth? What are you going to dance on the internet next? You know, they kind of were like, are you wasting private equity and all these things that you're doing today? And I said, no, I think you will make way more money if you spend time obsessing on how to grow online. 40 cents of every dollar venture capitalists give to startups goes to distribution. Distribution, just a fancy way to say eyeballs, just a fancy way to say attention. And so that's why creators are blowing up everywhere, because they realize that attention is actually the real currency. So I want you to actually use community and attention to never be poor again, even though people are going to say other things matter more, like your pricing strategy, what's your go-to-market, what's your total addressable market. All those things sound fancy and they don't matter. Get a few people to buy things from you fast, get a few people to be obsessed with you. That's how you win. Pessimists sound smart. Optimists make money. Sophisticated often sounds good, but simple is what makes you money. There's something called 1,000 True Fans, an incredible essay. I'll link it in the show notes, by Kevin Kelly, talking about if you can get 1,000 people to love your product, then you can make at least $100,000 every year. He did a bunch of mathematical equations showing this. Get 1,000 people to be obsessed with you, you can make at least 100K in perpetuity. But most people get this wrong because it sucks when you first start out online. Like, how many of you guys have dropped a video and nobody paid attention to it? The thing that differentiates attention versus not is going to be brand. And brand is really what led us to be able to go from 0 followers online to 120 million monthly impressions, to 10 million followers, to having a really big company. And eventually taking all of our attention that we got and funneling it to the things that matter, such as our venture fund, such as funneling it to our holding company, such as funneling it to our education business, to our events business. Media for us is a giant ad. This is the attention economy. And the way that we create content is totally changing that. So if you guys are on board with me with that part, with like, okay, first of all, Codie, we believe you that it makes sense to create content online and it'll lead to more dollars if we do it. Then the real question is, how do we get not just attention, but intention? What's the difference between the two? Somebody like Drake, one of the biggest names in the music world, he has all the attention that one could ever have and a lot of clout and trust, compared to, for instance, Rihanna, who you could even say is not as big as Drake in many ways, but is a billionaire because of Fenty and really smart intention she used in her attention. Same thing with Hailey Bieber and Rhode. Same thing with Kim and Kylie and their makeup lines. So when you have attention, you know you won't always have it forever, but the smartest people apply some intention to it, and that is the path to billionaire. So maybe we'll see Drake come up with some big, huge business idea to capitalize on it. What you want is attention, that's top of funnel, that goes to intention, aka purchasing. So I'm liking what you're telling me about, and now I have an intention to go do something. And the way that you get intention, in my opinion, is you don't do content, you do community. Let me tell you what I mean by that. We've taught 5,000 people how to buy a business. They've bought hundreds of millions of dollars worth of businesses. And so I create content that turns other people into evangelists for our community, such as Renan, who used to be a single dad and then bought a company using our process. And now you can go find his YouTube videos online talking about it. You could do this. Another guy named Sean, who went from his high-paying job in tech to buying a profitable small education business. And you can see him creating content about that online. Or Chris, that's bought multiple businesses. So I create a piece of content, a bunch of people come and watch that content, and then they take action and they buy from it. Because people pay you money, not just when they see you, but when they see that you understand what they want and that you are going to deliver it to them. That is when they will actually part with their money or have intent to purchase. So my belief is actually you shouldn't be a networker. You should go attract them instead. Be the attraction as opposed to, kind of the thirsty handout. I think if you can go build something, go create content that people want to watch, then that attracts them to you as opposed to you having to go chase them. So how do you build a multi-million-dollar community of people online that you're talking to for your brand that you're proud of that has a lot of intention to it? Well, there are a couple things that I would start with. First, I would start with find a problem so big that you can solve for your people that it's almost scary. So for us, I'm like, I think the traditional education system is fucked. I think it's wild that we tell young people, when they're 18 years old, that they can't even drink properly because their prefrontal cortex isn't developed. But hey, you should give us $100,000 to go to school, which you don't know what for yet. But also you can never get away from this debt. It's just going to continue to stack until one day you could hopefully pay off to go to an educational institute where you don't actually do anything. You just learn about theoretical ways to do something. I think the education system is broken. And I think young people feel like that too. Tell me in the comments if you feel like that too. And so I'm like, fuck that. Let's teach people to buy and build things for 1/100th of the cost and have them do it live, which is what we do at Contrarian Community in the SMB boardroom. So first, I want you to think about what's a big, huge problem you could solve for people. I think people should have lovely landscaping, and their landscaping right now, their guys are always late. They're always, struggling to actually come on time. They don't do what they say they're going to do, whatever. You pick your big problem. And then the first thing you do after that is you figure out from that big problem, what am I actually an expert in that I could go solve it? Do I understand landscaping? Am I a dentist? Or do I understand consumer packaged goods? Do I understand how to buy businesses? Find the thing that you are already uniquely skilled to talk about, build about, etc. Because I think a lot of the problems of why content doesn't hit for people on the internet and why you don't have a trusted brand and why you don't make money on the internet and why nobody's listening to you is because, God, I wish I had the confidence of a 24-year-old life coach. Are you actually an expert in the things that you're talking about, or are you stretching it? And I think the truth of the matter is that most people are talking about stuff online because it's a trend, because they think they should talk about it, not because it's something they're uniquely skilled at. Find the thing that you have unique skill and advantage at. You can either be the expert, aka, I don't know, I've been in private equity and investing for 15 plus years. I've bought a bunch of businesses. I've invested in a bunch of businesses. I don't know a lot about many things, but I know some things about that. So I do believe I'm an expert there. That's one way. Or you can document it. You can say, I don't know anything about buying businesses right now, but I'm going to document my whole process about how I learned. So you either have done it or you document it. Those are the two ways to do it. And then the next level I want you to think about is, I want you to be like this guy, which is, I don't want you to be talking about how big your target market is. I want you to go, yeah, buddy, mine's a lot smaller. I want you to actually niche down. And let me tell you why. There's a reason that Amazon started as a bookstore. There's a reason that when people get big online, it's often because they started in something really, really small and specific. A bad niche is one that is really big when you're starting out because you can't be an expert enough in it. So let's say a bad niche right now might be business for you. A niche of small business is okay. How about just small business owners? Okay, that's better. How about laundromat owners? Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. I want you to try to go as niche as humanly possible because the cool thing about the internet is you got buddies online. If you're into Japanese anime with female protagonists that have fairy tale specifications, there's a Facebook group for that. So the more niche you can go, the more subject matter expertise you can have, and also the cooler takes you can have, and people can become true fans. The way we tell if our content is niche enough is what I call the Where's Waldo strategy. I want you to be specific. I want you to be small. I want you to select a very targeted market. And so I think about, where's Waldo? How come we can find this guy in like these crazy images where everything's going down? Well, it's because he's got this red, white striped shirt every time. He's got these blue pants. He's got this kind of crazy beanie. Every single time I know what to look at him because he's very specific, small, and select. And I want you to think about your niche the exact same way. The second thing, once you've nailed your niche, is I want you to think about, so you've got this big problem that you talked about that you want to try to solve for people. Now, how do you turn that problem into a product? How do you monetize it and make money off of it? Well, that's something we call the problem to product loop. Most people see problems and they think about obstacles. They're like, this is in my way. I want you to, every time you see a problem in your niche, instead say, that's the opportunity. And let me show you what I mean by that. When you find a problem, then the first way to turn it into a product is just to make content. I want to buy a business. They talked about a letter of intent. I don't know how to do that. So what do? I create a video and a sample letter of intent. Cool. I got a video and a lead magnet. What about another person might say, I don't know how to talk to sellers. So what do? I create a video and a script about how to talk to business sellers. I don't know what a business is worth. That might be a problem in my sphere. And I say, okay, let's create a deal calculator so that you can calculate it exactly. And then I'll walk through in a video or a Twitter post or a blog exactly how to fix it. Then somebody might say, I don't know how to find businesses for sale. And I would say, oh, well, why don't we create an entire thread in our community for how to find businesses for sale? Maybe turn that into a course. Okay. And what this means is that you will learn something from the doing or the documenting you're doing every day that gives you a hypothesis about something that you should build, that you'll turn into content experiments. Then you have a baseline to measure if it's working or not. Did this thing get views? Did people download it? And then you turn that analysis into a product that you then learn from, then build, then measure, then analyze, then turn into a product. And this feedback loop from your community helps you create products that are better than anybody else's. And let me give you a perfect example. Here's my $1 billion bet, or one of them. We have a company called BizScout. How did I create BizScout, which now has 71,000 business listings? It's like the Zillow for small business acquisition, right? So, you go to buy a house, you go to Zillow, you check out the houses, you select them. I want a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, located in New York. I want it to be under $1 million, whatever. So we do the same thing for business acquisitions. And so that started because people started to say, well, I don't know how to find a business to buy. And I was like, oh, here's some sites. All the sites were bad. So I was like, well, why don't we build that? And now that thing is 25,000 buyer and seller connections have been made. We've got proprietary listings. It's going to be a really big company, I hope, one day. And that all came from a video and a piece of content that started. And so I want you to think about, as you're creating content in your business, which even could be internal. Here's an SOP for how I paint a house. Every time you have a problem, you create a resource and you ask if it's content. Then it will turn into, eventually, if you do this right, something called the marketing infinity loop, which is where you turn your free stuff into your paid stuff. Your paid stuff also becomes your marketing stuff, and it continues to loop around. And so here's how it works. First, you start with awareness. So I create a piece of content, and that content gets views on whatever platform. That's great. That puts you into the consideration cycle, which is like, all right, maybe somebody will consider buying from me. They'll consider using my service. Then finally, they'll move to purchase. So they'll buy something from you online. Then a few of them will move to advocates. That's where they write reviews, testimonials, take surveys. And then until finally they come into your loyalty program, which is where not only they talk about you, but they might subscribe to your newsletter list and also subscribe to a referral program, and then do the thing that is most important, more than anything else, continue to buy from you and tell their friends about you. And you just keep going. So awareness to consideration, to purchase, to advocacy, to loyalty. And as you follow this infinity loop, your little content business turns into a paid ad machine. What would I do if I was you? Start small, find my niche, use my content to build my product and then to market it, and then continue to iterate from feedback. And if you do this again and again and again, you will build an unfair advantage so big that others can't follow you. So how do you start then? If you're like, all right, I kind of see the path now for how I can make money from content. What is the rule to start getting the number one currency, which is awareness? That rule is, first, you have to have a system. A system is what we teach at the Contrarian boardroom, but having an operating system for how you're going to run your content. Then you have to have a team system. So how is your team going to run your content? And then you got to have an overview system, which is how am I going to see if this stuff is working or not? And you can kind of see right here how we use ours. Once you have that system in place, the next rule is a little bit more fun. And that rule is just don't be fucking boring. The thing about content that'll kill you more than anything else is if your content never gets attention, then it doesn't matter how good you are at selling people things. Nobody's ever watching them. So a couple things that matter. I think every company needs more opportunities for people to fall in love with them. I think that is actually what you want. You want people to hate what you're doing or love what you're doing, but apathy is the thing that you want the least. And so let's take a bad example first. What does a terrible newsletter look like? Well, most newsletters or emails from companies, they look like this, right? It's like, I don't know, extra 20% off flash sale, everything you need to know about crypto. I mean, I'm bored. I would never open either one of these. Instead, I would go back to one of the greatest emails I think that's ever been written. And this was written by Derek Sievers, the head of CD Baby back in the day. And the email's just ridiculous. So let me read it to you. Thank you for your order from CD Baby. It was a CD site for young kids. That's how we used to listen to music before Spotify. We had these big discs and we put them in and we kept them in these floppy folders. Anyway, Derek Sievers had a business that sold CDs. And the email that he had when you got a purchase from his store was so good. Here's how it goes. Your CD has been gently taken from our CD Baby shelves with sterilized, contamination-free gloves and placed onto a satin pillow. A team of 50 employees inspected your CD and polished it to make sure it was in the best possible condition before mailing. Our packing specialist from Japan lit a candle and a hush fell over the crowd as he put your CD into the finest gold-lined box that money can buy. We all had a wonderful celebration afterwards, and the whole party marched down the street to the post office where the entire town of Portland waved bon voyage to your package on its way to you and our private CD Baby jet on this day, Friday, June 6th. I hope you had a wonderful time shopping at CD Baby. We sure did. We're all exhausted, but we can't wait for you to come back. Thank you again. Derek Sievers, President CD Baby, the little store with the best new independent music. It's ridiculous. It's such a ridiculous thank you email. It's like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? That this thing got shared tens and tens of millions of times. Now it's gotten a little bit overplayed. Lots of people have copied it. But back in its day, this was really unique. And so what is your version of that today? I want to give you an example. I told my team, because we have a big newsletter business, and it's an incredible newsletter, I think. It's contrarianthinking.co. But in it, we tell people how to make money with businesses, right? And so every single week, it's different business ideas and different ways to grow your business, all focused on money. And I felt like our subject lines were terrible. And your subject line, that's your face card, baby. That's like the first thing you see when you, are going on a blind date and, you have your 1 second to impress somebody. That's your subject line, right? And so they're really important. I could write you a beautiful email, but if my subject line sucks, you're never going to click on it. Then you're never going to buy anything from me. And then I'm going to have to play my tiny violin. And so we weren't getting enough clicks. So I went to my team and I was like, hey, these subject lines are super boring. And so we wrote a newsletter about tree trimming and how a guy made money with tree trimming. And I said, I'll give you $1,000 if you can beat me in my subject line for this, because I think yours are boring. And they said, Cody, we think you're being ridiculous. You're being too hard on us. And I said, fine. If you win and your subject line gets higher clicks than my subject lines, I'll pay you $1,000. I'll be wrong and I'll go fuck off. And they said, great, deal. So we A/B tested the email. And some of the subject lines were like, growing a towering $144,000 tree business. How to grow your $1,000 or $144,000 money tree with a tree, emoji. Proof that money grows on trees. That actually was the top rated one. You want to know what my subject line was? I love guys with wood, ... Which one do you think you got the most clicks? Mine. Now, when they went in there, I had a funny first line that was like, excuse me, you dirty little rascals. What I mean is I love guys with big wooden trees that make a lot of money. And this thing is all about how people can make money. Not only did that have an incredible subject line, but the responses from the email, like everybody loved it because it was unexpected. It was a little bit of a surprise. So the worst thing that you can do in content is be boring. So I'll tell you, it's not just about your subject line. It's also about design. Like most newsletters look like this. Corporate, standard images, terrible subject line, overly designed. They don't lead with value. They're boring. Like, look at this. It's like a screenshot of, I don't know, their annual publication. It looks like something I'd be pissed if I got in the mail because I feel like they're killing trees for no reason whatsoever. As opposed to this newsletter, which is Publish Press. This is a great newsletter. This is by Colin and Samir, and actually like, I think an incredible newsletter overall, but the design is crisp, baby. It's clean. It's got a celebrity up top, easy to grab. It's kind of corporate, but fun feeling. So it doesn't feel like overly designed. It's short. It's bulleted. It's got great subject lines. Or this one by Scott Galloway. This email is incredible. It shows you right away what you're going to get with a great subject line. It also has images that tell you things as opposed to the words. So it's show, don't tell. And then this one, which is mine. My newsletter at Contrarian, every single time we start it with a quote. People love quotes. We have this little like kind of hand-drawn image of each person. So every time you open the subject line, you kind of know what you're looking at. The graphics overall are good. I think some of these subject lines could be better, like a practical framework for thinking bigger. Wop, wop. That was boring. You know what? We should tell Jacob about that. Jacob, we got to work on the subject lines. But like 8 lessons from the man who wrote The Laws of Power. Anyway, pretty good. The next is I want you to go Freud on him. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when you're creating content, we're talking to people's psychology, right? We humans are weird. And if we can get into their psychology, we can change actions. So let me give you some examples. So a CTA, a call to action in your content is really important. A lot of times people across platforms, so whether it's a video or it's a newsletter, they'll say things like, subscribe now, join now, sign up. Well, we've heard that so many times that we almost don't hear it anymore. You know what I mean? You go to a site, it says subscribe now. You're like, no, I don't want to. It's almost noise. As opposed to click here for this free X. Check out my list of 150 Y. Explore this value prop. This is telling you like, hey, I'm going to give you something. If you give me something, your email. Now, I think there's a cheat code to how to become really great at content. And this is for you 202 level people, the people who are not just doing this by yourself, the people who are ready for the bigger game. So it's not for everybody. You can listen if you're still 101 level, but if you're looking to scale up, there's only one real answer. And that is, it's always a who, not a how. So I just gave you a bunch of hows, but this slide is showing you the number 2s to some of the biggest number 1s on the internet. We've got The Rock. Well, next to him is Danny Garcia, his like manager and agent who helped really create his career in multiple industries. We got Kim Kardashian with the ultimate momager, Kris Kardashian. We've got Nick Bare with his number 2 at his company. We got Mr. Beast with his original number 2. So who, not how. Anytime you want to grow on a platform, the best thing you can do is go find your best who. Because the truth of the matter is you're likely not a content expert, right? I wasn't. And if you're not, you can always hire somebody to do that instead. Now, where I would end is, if you want to build a community with 1,000 true fans and make more money on the internet, the one truth that you'll have to remember over time is this formula, which is consistency plus creativity plus grit to intention. And if you can use that formula continuously, you will find a way to make money online. Tell me if you guys like this episode. It's very tactical. And if you guys want to start a newsletter, we'll give you our tech stack. You can click the lead magnet below. It'll show you where we make newsletters. It'll also show you some of my favorite content tools, and you guys can rock and roll on your own version of a billion-dollar brand. I was just looking, and it looks like more than 50% of you are not subscribed to the Big Deal podcast. When you subscribe, first of all, it means we get to bring you bigger and better guests. It's also the #1 way you can support this podcast. If you liked it today, subscribe on whatever channel that you're listening to. And I want to tell you something firsthand. You become whatever you allow into your attention span. And what I hope you feel from us every single day is that I value your attention and your time more than anything else. I promise to only bring you things that are going to make you more money. They're going to make you more motivated to make your life better. So give me a little solid here. Subscribe to the channel. This is how we grow. Also leave me a review on what you want better and who you want on. I promise you will do it. Hey, if you're a business owner right now and you like the things you were hearing on this podcast, I have something that I haven't talked about publicly before that's just for you. It's called our SMB Boardroom. This is for small business owners who want to grow. It is for business owners who are on their way to making at least 7 figures a year. If this is you, hit the link down below, talk to our team. This is the place that can be your late night emergency call for the things that go bump in the night in your business. If right now you feel like you're plateauing or you feel like you don't know how to handle your growth, we got you. So click the link below, SMB Boardroom. We just built it for you builders. Kind of obsessed with it. And I think if you are a builder, there's no place you're going to want to be except here. Hey guys, if you've ever thought about buying a business, we've built what I think is the best acquisitions and business buying community and education curriculum in the world. If you've ever thought about wanting to buy or own a business, or if you want to add more businesses to the mix, it's called the Contrarian Community. And what this is the goal is we give you the 3 things that the best business buyers use: your own advisory team, your own investment committee, and a deal team. We get together each week to review deals live and beat up all the deals that you're currently looking at while you simultaneously learn the best way possible, which is called modeling, by seeing other people put together deals. This is how private equity buys businesses. This is how investment teams work. And we're stealing the methods from Wall Street and giving them to you. If this is interesting to you, go to click the link and you can actually talk to my team direct about if this is a fit or not. We can help guide you. The link is in the show description.
I think the dirt and the clouds are the only interesting parts of the game.
If you don't know Gary Vaynerchuk, well, you've probably been living under a rock. He has a multiple New York Times bestseller. He has multiple 9-figure businesses.
People ask me how I scale Vayner. 10-80-10. I open and close.
So the truth is, you need to be an absolute freak of nature. You have to have outlier behavior.
Do you know how fucking hard it is to make $1 million a year?
How do you know what characteristics a great founder has?
Very early on in my career, I was unstoppable. Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr were my first 3 investments of my life. I went on pure intuition.
What are your craziest predictions when it comes to AI?
My craziest prediction is that most people's grandchildren will marry an AI robot. I had an epiphany. I was like, fuck.
Welcome to the Big Deal Podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez, and today we have a man who is not only able to predict the social media trends of today, he's been doing it for the past 30 years. He's got an audience of millions every single day listening to him about how do I go viral? How do I build big businesses? What is going to happen in the future? And today we get into stuff that he's never talked about before. But what I think is most interesting about what we talk about today is he's going to make some predictions on what's going to happen with AI for all of us. He is going to tell us the secret place to find underpriced attention. So how do we get more money into our businesses by double tapping on this? And he's also going to hit you with what I consider to be like, I don't know, an adrenaline shot level of intensity about why to keep going, how to keep going when things get hard, and what it takes to be a business owner that survives over the long term. Gary V is somebody who's become a friend of mine over the past year, and listening to him talk about things I've never heard him speak about before on the internet was really a true pleasure. So I hope you guys have as much fun as this one. I'm going to listen back to it because I want to build businesses as big as this man did. Without further ado, Gary V. Because when I was looking at your investment Rolodex, holy hell, you have invested in some giant company. I don't think people know half the things about you fully on the internet, but like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Uber, Snapchat, Coinbase. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So how do you smell like a founder that's going to win? How do you know what characteristics a great founder or CEO has?
Very early on in my career, when I didn't consider myself an investor, I was unstoppable. Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr were my first 3 investments of my life. I only judged what I smelled. I went on pure intuition about the human and the thesis. I wanted to like the idea, and they were far enough along. I wasn't an angel round. Yeah. They were a little further, more an A or pre-A. Then I thought I was a hero because I was red hot, and I started to like read TechCrunch and spend time in Silicon Valley. And I got caught in an era, a 3-year era, where I invested in just the idea. And I thought what I didn't realize at the time, what I was doing is, oh, this is a good idea. And I knew how to run it. I put myself into the CEO chair, started spending less time analyzing the person, went through an era of ideas, and I lost. I invested in a company called Yobongo that basically became, 2 years later, an app called Tinder came out and was Yobongo. I loved Yobongo, but the kid was a young kid, and I didn't spend enough time analyzing his stomach, his merit. And this was the explosion of like smart kids and engineers becoming founders.
And Sean is an animal, the founder of Tinder.
Sean, and yes. And so but Sean, that was like 2 years later. Elliot, I think that's what his name was. Like, I didn't analyze him. So what has worked for me? What has worked for me now, when I try to think about it, I think about, do I like the jockey and the horse? Right? This hat that I'm wearing, Siegelman Stables, right? Max and Caro, they're a couple and they're a team. I love them. They're gangsters. They've got it. And in the world of Kith and Rude and Palace and Jerry, Fear of God, I understand the business of when you're the hottest up and coming fashion brand, it's a business. You know what I mean? You can get to a 9-figure exit from a LVMH or So, I'm looking for the jockey and the horse now. The jockey being the entrepreneur, the horse being the business. I need to like both and understand both.
So say I'm sitting across from you and like you're either going to hire me or invest in my company. What are you asking me to tell if you like me or not, or want to take a bet on me?
Usually here's how it goes. I'll go with, hey, Cody, hey, so nice to meet you. I'm so excited about this. Tell me everything. Literally, that's what I will say. Tell me everything is kind of it's not like my go-to question. It's just what I happen to think. It's what I happen to mean. Tell me everything. Like, as much as you want to tell me either about yourself or the business, go. I listen carefully, and then my series of questions is predicated on what I listen to. I'm counterpunching the reality of what I heard. I don't have a go-to other than I need as much context as possible from you right now about you or it. I'm 49, have been pretty much successful in anything I've run, and have had plenty of winning and losing in investment. I can listen and know where I want to go. Sometimes after that code, it's over. Like, even off the rip, right? Like, it's over because, at this point I have such a public life too. Like, I can feel when someone's pandering to like, well, Gary, I love the hustle and the grit and I love flip. Like, I can tell when someone's trying to game me. And then even if they're trying to game me, I won't even that doesn't eliminate them. That's just a data point.
Right.
Again, because I'm now 49, 22. So for 27 years, for 27 straight years, every day of my life, I have had to be responsible to make payroll with no funding. 27. Like, I'm a real, actual operator. And so it's very easy for me to ask questions. How
fast can you tell?
Sometimes immediately. It's like, like many of us listening know what love at first sight feels like, right? Or crush at first sight, everybody knows. Or like immediately knowing. I'm incredibly intuitive. My emotional intelligence is disproportionately my go-to. So I can tell right away. I can't tell right away if I'm going to hire someone or invest, or if someone's a genius. I can tell right away the things I'm feeling. Like, this is potentially someone remarkable. I can always tell when someone's just an average C player right away. You know what I mean? Pretty quickly. But again, C players for my businesses, when I hire, I love a good C because I think we have a system to get people to Bs. And I think Bs are great.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So you are okay with B and C players. Let's talk about that, actually.
I think most companies, when you're at scale, need plenty of B and C players. A players are always looking.
How do you define that, though, then? Because it's like, you don't want to have a culturally toxic C players. What's the difference?
By the way, I think my 5 posts ago on Instagram is, give me an A+ personality and a C player, because C personality is death on arrival. C, let alone D and F, and there are plenty of those people. No, I'm talking about like, brain power, like firepower, right? Like not everyone's the sharpest fucking most, like it's just real life. Work ethic. Work ethic you can't really tell in an interview. I feel like work ethic's one that you can see more play out and then you decide. I just think that we in my companies care to level people up and we continue to get better at it. And that's really working for us at scale. So I have a lot of retention. But yeah, I think I'm looking for firepower, intellectual firepower, personality traits. I'm trying to poke at like self-awareness. I look for humility. I'll give you one that is always let down. Hey, Cody, I'm super excited about this. You're going to come in and be at a VP level at Vayner, which is a big role. I think the VP director role at my company is really running the companies above the SVPs and the C-suite. We're in an interview, I'm saying that, and then I'm like, Code, real talk, like don't bullshit. I'll say it like this, hey, real talk, don't bullshit me because I'm gonna find out anyway and I want you to be here a long time and I want you to win here. Give me one of your shortcomings in your career. When people go to, Gary, sometimes I care too much and I really like that, I'm like, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, give me something real, please. You know what I mean? Like, it's
I work too hard.
It's like why, when I realized 5 to 7 years ago, that lack of candor, which is crazy because Gary Vee's candor is off the charts. But Gary Vaynerchuk, the executive, when I realized lack of candor, I struggled giving critical feedback. Yeah, and then the firings would be sloppy because of that, because people would be surprised. When I really had that moment in the mirror with myself, what am I, maybe 49, maybe 42, 43, 44. When I had that moment, literally the next day I started putting it out publicly. That's when I wrote 12 and a half. Because I literally wrote an entire book because I wanted to put out there my shortcoming of candor.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Which people probably almost don't believe because
Correct,
they're like,
because my strength is candor as a public figure talking about things. Yep. But Gary Vee and Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm the same. I think, one of the things I always smile about is when people work for me or get to know me, they're like, it's so cool that you're, I'm the same, but it's a different context. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm talking to the blank world right now versus someone who's worked for me for 3 years. Here's where my bleeding heart becomes a vulnerability. You stink at Vayner for the last 6 months. It's now a problem. You've been there for 5 years. You've given it all. You've always really given it all. It's a problem. We're leveling up. It's a problem. People around you are fucking pissed. You're not good enough. You're getting paid more than people that are better than you underneath you. It becomes a problem. But I know, because I'm so HR oriented, but I know that your dad has cancer. And I know that you just broke up with your boyfriend. And I'm struggling to fucking fire you. I don't know what else to tell you. It's fucking hard. The end. Yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Never feels good. It doesn't. But I think also, one of the cool things about you is you are so big. You've been around for so long publicly that also the tough part is sometimes, that's the person that's coming in and firing you, or that's the person that's giving you the critical feedback. It's like this extra fucking layer on top of everything else.
You'll appreciate this. I love you for that. You're right. For some, at 22, at 26, at 29, at 31, at 34 in the wine store, when nobody on earth knew who I was, it was my biggest weakness.
Yeah, Interesting. So still always the same.
There was a level of confidence / potentially ego. I always thought I could make it better. Like I definitely would have been the girl that would have went after fucked up dudes because I thought I could make them better. I would have definitely been that girl. 100,000%. I know it inside.
I know it. Fix him.
Yeah, and not in a fucked up way, in an optimistic way. Not in a like I'm a psycho in a and the problem for me is I have. My problem in a lot of ways is there are many people within my organization's startups, friend groups, boards I'm on, because I'm so into guidance counselor, coach, therapist, energy, and I have such a yin and yang because of the emotional intelligence, but because of the operational and because of just wanting to kind of do to the world what my mom did for me, I've been successful at it. I'm just like, names are running through my head right now where like people started off at like a 3 emotionally and are at an 8 strictly because I put my fucking hand on their shoulder. Every teacher, therapist, coach, guidance counselor knows what I'm saying right now. And you know how rewarding that is? Like I've changed the course of this human being's life. I'm doing that with content to the world, let alone imagine someone I can put my hand on their shoulder. So it becomes intoxicating in like, it feels good to help other people for certain people. I know many people don't feel the way I feel, but for me, it feels good. I like it. It feels like the right thing to do.
What is the opposite of that? What is like the advice that you keep having to repeat that you know people need to listen to and they just don't?
By the way, every single thing I say, patience, like insecurity, don't keep up with the Joneses, fuck materialism, eat shit. Like it's both the left and the right struggle with me and like me, right? Because in one side I'm like compassion and all the feelings and everyone's like, ah. On the other side I'm like, kill every fucker, it's all because it is purple. Because life is purple. The reason there's so much tenseness right now is the world, the youth, the elderly, the left, the right, the 40s, every generation, Z, X, Y, boomers, alpha, we're fighting for it's red or it's blue. I'm like, motherfuckers, it's purple, you fucking idiots. You fucking idiots. It's fucking purple. How the fuck don't you understand that? So, you know, what people struggle with everything I say. You know, when I tell parents that you got to stop giving your kids money after they're 22, every parent right now listening who's got a 27-year-old on the payroll doesn't like getting poked like that. But I'm on the receiving end of all this fucking depression DMs from 28-year-olds that are on the payroll. Because parents don't realize if you're paying for your kid when they're a grown adult, you're telling your kid you don't believe in them. Through your actions, not your words. They know they're a loser. Yeah, that shit hurts. You know?
So what do the parents say to you when you say that? Like, what's their excuse for continuing to do that?
You know, in the most private conversations, it's just surface level justifying. You know, like, oh, you don't know my son, like he had this issue. I'm like, everyone had issues. Do you understand every person in the 80s in New Jersey got bullied? Every single kid I grew up with got bullied. The popular ones, the not popular. Like, we've started making these words so big. I told somebody yesterday, don't use the word anxious. You're not. You're inconvenienced.
Great line.
You know, like we've now just gotten so deep into this shit. This is why so many people are struggling. We've given them permission to not do and fight and fix. Ooh, I've never said it that way. We have given people with all these big words. Do you know what imposter syndrome is? It's called insecurity. We've just given it makeup. Nobody's like, yo, I'm insecure. Nobody says that, Code. But so many people are like, man, I have imposter syndrome. Makeup. Got it? The definition, literally the definition of imposter syndrome is slang for I'm deeply insecure. But nobody comes around and says I'm insecure. But everybody, I have anxiety. People say they have depression when they don't. And that fucks up for people that actually do. I feel bad for the people that actually do.
It's a great point.
And it's confused everybody. Everybody, like, do you know how bad I feel for all the people that own big businesses who, like, every person's like, I need a mental health day, and they're like starting to cancel mental health days. And meanwhile, of the 100 people that are abusing it because they just want to play video games or doing fucking nothing, because I lived that life. Do you know how many sick days I had from 1982 to 1994? 1 million. I tried to get out of school every day. And boy, when 5th grade Gary found out that legally they had to send you home if you went to the nurse and weren't refusing to go back, well, I fucking cooked. I mean, that was everything to me. That discovery, I don't know if I've ever been happier in my life. In 5th grade, somehow, I don't want to bullshit. I don't remember how, but I learned that you could actually you could just stick in, if the nurse said go back to class, you're like, I don't feel well, that if you kept going, they had to send you home. I mean, I didn't. So
Didn't your immigrant parents beat your ass for that?
What was funny, this is why I put my mom on a super pedestal. My mom knew that getting A's in school was not going to lead to my success and happiness. And she did something most parents weren't willing to do and are still not willing to do. And she didn't give a fuck what everybody thought about my D's and F's. Got it? She knew me.
But is that because somewhere else you were showing her obsession?
Of course.
Because if you were a parent that just was like,
My mom,
D's and F's, fuck off, that would be.
She's the same lady that looked at me on my 14th birthday and said, you know how you suck at school? I'm like, yeah. She's like, now you work. I was 14. 14, Code.
I like her.
Like, I worked every weekend, every summer. My last childhood moments, like childhood, ends in 8th grade. There was no fun in high school for me. There was no I worked because I had to pay the consequences of not working in the classroom. Thank God for me, work was my nirvana. Like, thank God for me, I loved my parents so much. Thank God for me, I knew as a teenager that I had it because I was doing baseball card shows at 11 and 12 and grown men. You know, this is why I love, that's where I was getting validation from. In school, I was getting D's and F's and grown-ups were telling me I was gonna be a loser. Teachers in the 80s didn't fuck around. I had teachers like Dr. DeBella in Martin Luther King Elementary School in 1987 said I was going to be a fucking loser.
Makes you feel any better. My math teacher told me Helen Keller would have a better shot of winning an archery contest than I would have been in finance.
Oh my God, 100%.
But God, what great fuel. Honestly,
yeah,
pretty thankful.
Yeah, But then I was doing baseball card shows at 13, making $800 while the grown up to the left and right at my table were making $300 because it was a crappy show. And my mom picks me up at Sunday night to pack up and drive me home. And I've got two 30, 40, 50-year-old men telling my mom, your son's a genius. Because I was doing all sorts of weird shit that nobody else was doing. And so, yeah, I mean, that was...
what?
Like the dollar rack. I was selling 50, 60, 70 cent and $1.20, $1.30 cards that you can't move those cards. But because I merchandised them as a dollar rack with a huge sign, everybody just stopped by and bought cards. My friend Brandon Warnicki, who's still in my life, we met at 14, we did baseball card shows. He runs the wine library. I talk to him every day. He's one of the few humans on earth I talk to every day. I mean, he was baffled by the dollar rack. When I put it out, he was like, that's not gonna work. And then 3 hours later, there's not a card left in the dollar rack. Merchandising matters.
Explain what that is to somebody who doesn't know what merchandising is.
How a human sees it on the other side. When you walk into, you know how some of you it's very simple. It's think about, the best way to describe merchandising is to describe to everybody their home. Some of us, like me, are comfortable in slobbery. Crap on the floor, room doesn't smell. I mean, I was a fucking cliche dude, right? Laundry on the ground, room smells like shit, things everywhere. Who gives a fuck? Don't even do laundry. Where to sit in my teenage? Oh my God, such a dude. Other people can't even fall asleep in their apartment, in their room, unless the fucking scent is perfect. Everything's perfect. Good. So how something shows up for you. I get excited walking up to a garage sale where shit's all over the place. But let me take a different angle on it. So that's the setting. Now imagine why are you grabbing something when you buy? I always ask myself after I do it, why did I just pick that up? It's on the end cap. It's at the register. That sign, the presentation. By the way, merchandising is the fashion industry. Presentability, but what compels someone to grab an item? That's always what I thought about. The sign, the positioning, the location within the store, the eyesight level. Do you understand that retailers think I think like a retailer, what's at eye level is what sells. Bottom shelf doesn't sell. When I used to get mad at a supplier, if we didn't have good negotiations or they weren't supporting us, I took their most important products and put it on the bottom shelf. Merchandising, I obsessed when I was 15. When I was 15, 16, I was allowed to go upstairs. Before that, I was downstairs in the warehouse. And when I was at the register bagging for the cashier, which is what I was doing, and then I became a cashier, at 16, I could see how people walk, based on where my dad's registers were, I could see people walk in, and we were slow. We were still a local store at that point. I would watch every customer. They'd walk in, what do they grab, why? So it's presentation, how your table's laid out. It's why I was good at UI and UX when the internet came along. All the designers in 97, 98, 99, 2000 were like, yo, you're really good at this. Because I thought like a consumer, like, why would they click that button? What about below the fucking scroll? What about the checkout? I literally had, empty cart or like lapse cart or whatever it was called. What the hell was it? Abandoned carts. I remember going to my developer in 2000 being like, can we see who didn't check out? It was like, you got to understand this is early internet.
Yeah, it didn't exist.
Like we didn't,
because you're thinking in the store, hey, that guy's walking out. Like, sir, did you not find something that's what you would do?
Exactly
right?
what I would do. So I was like, is there an internet? Wait a minute, there's an internet version of this. I'm like, Eric Kastner, big shout out to him. Eric, can you see in the code? Like, I don't even know what to call it. The code, the server. We used such funny words back then. He's like, yeah. We started emailing people that had abandoned carts and fucking crushed. So like,
merchandising it's so funny because the other day this was 2 days ago, I went to the Harry Potter store here.
Nice, yeah.
And the reason why, same thing you said, who's better at merchandising in the fucking world than the entertainment space? And I think arguably Harry Potter, probably one of the best of our lifetimes, right?
Yeah, it's a one of the incredible IPs that we saw birth.
Exactly. And when you walk into that store, it's always packed. And it is huge margin. It's incredibly well designed, and like they rotate merch, but what I've kind of noticed is they don't rotate it that much.
Yeah.
Like it's not like they always have to have some new.
Are you a huge Harry Potter fan?
I'm a big Harry Potter fan, but I'm not crazy about it.
You're not crazy, but you're very solid.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so watching that taught me a lot about, okay, well, if we're ever going to do merch, how do we do this right? How do I make every person who comes in, they have those little greeters, Sam Walton. I loved that. He was like looking to cut costs, but also put a greeter in front because he realized, it makes people feel different too. Like they're special for coming in the store.
To that point, I do that too. I don't like the middle. So I would say what I see with a greeter at Walmart is not playing in the middle. It's like price, convenience all the way here on the right, but then spend on things that others don't spend on because it changes the context of the relationship. I always talk about scale the unscalable. Actually, here's a tidbit. I believe one of the great misses right now for all of the characters like you and I and everybody else that's aspiring to like win on content and brand is community management. I really do believe that way more people need to DM everyone back. If you and I do not have that bandwidth. But I'm telling you right now, if you're just kind of getting into your early stages and you have like 10,000 followers and you're posting and you're getting 14 comments, you're getting 13 DMs a day, reply to all of them. Scale the unscalable. That's how I built Gary Vee, by the way. Content and replying to everyone on Twitter from 2007 to 2011.
You kind of still do it on scale because I remember when I came and spoke at Beacon. I came and spoke. That's normal. I'll go speak at people's events. It's an amazing event. I had a great time. Very seldom does the head of the entire event ask to get my phone number and text me direct. That's really actually not that scary. I mean, how many speakers did you have there? Hundreds.
Yeah.
Not to mention that's not your only event. Not to mention you're doing these all over the world.
Yep.
That's actually not even that scalable for you.
Yep.
And so it seems like there's different levels to the game, but you still do the unscalable even at the highest level of the game.
I think the dirt and the clouds are the only interesting parts of the game.
That's good.
Yeah, and so even in my own organization, people ask me how I scale Vayner, and I say 10-80-10, and they're like, what does that mean? I go, when we're doing important shit, I tell the team I have to be involved in the first 10% because I'm molding it. Then I disappear, and then you need to come back to me to close it. I open and close. The middle's the problem, and winners and people aspiring to build big things spend way too much time in the middle. Meetings. I've famously internally and a little bit externally obsessed with 15-minute meetings. I had an epiphany. I was like, fuck, I crushed the dirt, the 15-minute meeting. I'm fucking up the clouds. I have a lot of 1-hour meetings that are actually 3-hour meetings. I've done more offsites, 2-3 day offsites this year. We're not even halfway through, than I've done in the last 10. and it's been monumental. I had this epiphany in November, December of last year. I'm like, wait a minute, I've got the 15-minute meeting down, but this is about like feeling your feelings. I could feel that a lot of important meetings that were an hour weren't getting wrapped up. So now I'm doing a lot more 2 and 3 hour meetings and even 2 and 3 day offsites, 10-80-10.
That's a great framework, because otherwise it does seem too much and you can get stuck in micromanagement forever. You're like, I'm trying to build a business. Gary and Cody, you said do that. And I need to have my hands on everything and I need to care about the dirt, but you can't all the time.
Oh my God, I would argue for your audience, like the SMB audience, like the mainstream audience, the number one reason they lose is they spend all their time in the 80. That's why my dad got small, didn't go as big as he could. He wanted to know everything. He wanted to touch everything. Many small business entrepreneurs are just trying to be solopreneurs. They don't realize it. They're scared of stealing, insecurity, someone getting better at it and leaving. There's all these millions of different things that people are worried about. 10-80-10.
What do you think the young entrepreneurs are sleeping on right now?
So many different things. When you know this, we've had the luxury of living just a little bit. We're still pretty young in the scheme of things, but I had so many, when I talk about my career, my life, I always think it's a homage to my parents and my circumstance. And so I had a lot of things figured out at 23, right? My mom really actually built self-esteem. I continue to believe that most people get successful because of insecurity, and there's a rare breed that gets there through confidence. And I'm so grateful that I'm in that small group, and I see it in others. But that's not me. That's how I was raised, and just the circumstance of being born in the Soviet Union and Jersey boy in the 80s and a million other things that are not me. I think a lot about the youth, to your point, and there's just a lot. I think, first of all, both men and women, I think we throw it on men, but I see it in a lot of young women, we want to get validation from the masses. It was always a vulnerability pre-social media, pre-internet, to want validation from the outside. But the outside in 1974 and 1983 was the Joneses, AKA your neighbors. That was like maybe your church, maybe your neighbor, it was tight. Maybe the people in the office, it was small. There's an extraordinary amount of wanting to show that you're successful going on. So I think one thing that a lot of the youth is struggling with is an extreme need for the Lambos, the watches, the followers, the cash, the trophies, the accolade, just so much outside validation. I think there's a lot of lack of self-awareness. I think that in general, that's a human thing, but meaning I think a lot of people chase the trend, whether it's, cannabis or NFTs or crypto or flipping or and listen, I'm curious about a lot of trends, but I think a lot of people are like, I'm going to do this because this is where I can make my millions. So I think I believe that one of the great ways to actually be successful is to truly know the things you like because you'll work that hard. I don't think I could ever work as hard as I did if I didn't enjoy it. I couldn't muster it up. It's why I don't, back we were talking right before we started the gym, this morning was a grind. Yeah, to me it was I really didn't want to, I really don't want to. And my gym, my eating discipline, my doing things around the house, these are fully procrastinations. These are laziness. This is avoidism. This is non-accountability. This is look, a bird over there, run away. I do the reverse and work because it's my love. I do the reverse in playing basketball. I like it. I'm should definitely not be playing. I like it. I go out of my way. I was just saying to you, my back was hurting all week and I played last night. That was crazy. So I think if you love what you do, you will do the things that actually are required to be successful, which is persevere through the daily shit, right?
It's hard to beat.
So I think those two things really stand out to me. And then the things, I always laugh when I'm about to say it because I know some people are like, Gary, but I do struggle with an obsession to try to teach these kids about patience. I literally punted my 20s and early 30s because I was obsessed with building a business for my parents. But I truly had nothing at 34, truly actually. When I started VaynerMedia, my biggest company, we started it in a conference room the size of this podcast studio in another company's conference room. because I couldn't pay rent.
How big is it now?
Now it's 2,000 plus people, 350 million a year revenue, not valuation. You know,
Oh, you run a profitable business that actually makes money? Shocking.
So, it's a big business, and I'm
That's
proud.
only one of yours. Like how many? I was looking it up today. It's like Vayner 3, Vayner Sports, Vayner RSC, VFriends, which I think is a different entity. How many like Vayners you got?
There's VaynerX, the holding company that holds like 7 or 8 of the that's the marketing agency holding company.
Okay.
Outside of it is Vayner Sports, because that's a separate business. That's me and my brother. My brother runs that with Greg Gensky. That's becoming a pretty big business. We rep over 100 athletes, might even be close to 200 now. A newer one is Vayner Watt, W-A-T-T, for Eric Wattenberg. That's a TV production company. Our first shows are going to start hitting the air here in the fall, and like that's starting to move and groove. VFriends is the other biggest business I run. That's my Marvel Pokemon. It's an intellectual property. I do actually believe in my 80s, that's what I will be known for more than anything else I've done.
And probably nobody understands that right now, right? Like when you launch it, they thought, this quick little NFT thing.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't understand me and Vayner. Most people don't know VaynerX. Most people, when they just heard 350 million, like when people come to Vayner, they're like they're like, what is this? I'm like, this is my company. They're like, most people think I'm a motivational speaker or a content creator, which is fine. I mean, I'm not overly worried about it. VCR group, I have a very substantial restaurant group that's going very well. We have that Fly Fish Club, which was also an NFT membership.
It's just there.
Yeah, it's really going well.
It was beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crushing, which is good because that was very high risk, high reward. You open up that kind of 8-figure build out, and the restaurant business is not nice. It's the hits business. Yeah, you should hate them. It's restaurants and sports agencies, bad businesses. Yeah. Passion though. Chef Capon, Chef Connor, David Rodolitz, my 3 partners in that business, this is their life. My brother punted a lot of money because he just wants to be a sports agent. And now he's starting after a 10-year itch of like, hey, what else should, so I think it ebbs and flows. So anyway, long-winded, I wish kids were like, no, I really love sailing. Let me start a business around sailing, whether it's content creation. Let me go work for someone who's in the sailing business for 5 years, learn and figure out. Like that move, like when people hear me say this, they're like, but Gary, how do I do that? I'm like, why don't you go work for somebody in comedy, in the fashion, like everyone has just decided like I can start a business, and most people are not talented enough in their teens or 20s to build a viable business just yet.
Yeah.
The thing
is miserable.
Well, yeah, this. Most people, this was a real wake-up call for me when entrepreneurship got cool in like the mid-2010s, like 2010, 11, 12, 13. Everyone started running towards it. And I had always been there. I didn't realize how hard it was for people that weren't natural born. But then it made sense to me because I was a really poor student. And like, I just think some people know how to do school. I wasn't one of those people. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be hard for these people. Because, it's because unlike school, like I never did homework and failed every test, and the system pushed me through. My school system didn't want people to stay back. They were going for a blue ribbon. They just pushed me through. I literally sit here today, no fucking bullshit. In my 4 years of high school, I never opened a book, never did homework, never studied for a test, never did a book report, never did a project, and they just pushed me through.
Yeah. Which I'm not sure that's good or bad, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably neither, but in business, entrepreneurship, the land of business merit, there's no pushing through. No. Like, if I did that same thing in business, I'd be out of business very quickly and back at a job. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I saw this stat today, actually. It was on Twitter. And it was, because you always talk about how hard it is.
Yeah.
And so there was this tweet today that was like, read this if you're not as rich as you want. And it was the odds of making it, that in the US, 1 in 1,000 make over $1 million in a year. 1 in 11,000 over 10 million, 1 in 35,000 over 20 million. And so the truth is, if you want to make it, you need to be an absolute freak of nature, basically. You have to have outlier behavior. And I was curious what you think and how hard it actually is. Because you're oftentimes telling all of us it's going to be harder than you think.
I'm 49. When the number went from, when I was a kid, the number was if I could make $100,000 a year. I grew up in lower middle class kind of like vibes, more lower middle class. 100K seemed I myself, with, I'm in 15 years old, I'm gonna buy the Jets one day, but there was another part of my brain that was like, man, the only time I was pumped professionally, financially, was when I broke the 100,000 barrier in a year. No other time. No other time. When that number for the masses became 1 million versus 100,000, shit got ugly. Do you know how fucking hard it is to make $1 million a year? Really, actually. And the problem for someone like you and I, if we've gotten there and we spend all our time around people that have gotten there, it doesn't feel rare. One of the great things that has always happened in my career is because of where I grew up, I always thought about the other So one of the first offices I opened for VaynerMedia was Chattanooga, Tennessee. Not LA, not San Francisco, not Tokyo, not London. And one of the reasons I did that was I always wanted to be grounded to everything. Up, down, left, right. When you go to Chattanooga, Tennessee, if you make $1 million a year, you're fucking on a pedestal. And by the way, Chattanooga has a wealthy area, old Coke money. There's some great entrepreneurs there.
And it's nice.
Yeah, it is
clean.
Nice. I like Chattanooga. But look, I think that it's incredibly hard, and I don't know why people think it's easy. And I do know why I think people think it's easy. In the 80s, there was Lifestyle, the Rich and Famous. In the 90s, there was My Crib, the Crib show on MTV Cribs. Now 24/7, people are looking at propaganda in their feeds of watches and vacations. And I say, because I keep hearing everyone wanting to blame Instagram and wanting to blame social media, I say, stop consuming it. If you're motivated by it, great. I don't believe that most people are motivated by it. I think most people get jealous and envious, get insecure, and so, yeah, I think it's super hard because, again, over-coddling parenthood in the last 40 years, school is bullshit system, government's bullshit system, most systems are bullshit. The only two systems that aren't, the most not bullshit system in the world is sports. When little Ricky goes on the field and he's 9, if he sucks at basketball or soccer, it's exposed, no matter how much daddy and mommy want to make up some excuses right?
Used to be.
Yeah, parents are really getting their hands in shit, but still, they'll go and fight a teacher. Parents in the 80s when you got a C, your mom and dad didn't go to school and fight a teacher and try to get a B. They do that now. But even though I'm in this circles, I have a 16 now, and 12-year-old, growing up in this last 7 to 10 years, parents want to go on the field and kick the ball for their kid. People want to go do something, but they can't. And then thus the kid gets exposed. Sports is the most merit. The next closest is business. The reason I say it's not the same is, you know this, people are like, I'm a 3-time exiting founder. I'm like, you raised $10 million and sold it for $200,000.
Exactly.
You're a fucking loser. You're not,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So people can bullshit a little bit in business. There's, there is but it's 80% to sports. And I guess in hindsight, I was attracted to merit my whole life because those are my two passions.
I love a game where you know who wins and loses because it tells you if you're good or not.
That's right.
So do you think, when you see that stuff online, I'm not a big showy person, don't get me wrong, and I like nice shit.
Yeah, you're allowed. By the way, everyone's allowed.
Totally, but I think it's almost an immediate red flag when I see somebody showing the Gucci, Fendi, Prada, the fast cars, and the private planes. I immediately go, I don't know. If you really had that, you got to flex it. What do you think? If you're talking to a young person, you're saying, don't fucking follow people that do that.
Yeah, listen, I've taken some lumps from a lot of contemporaries who get mad that I talk about this because so many of them are in it. Look, I think that first of all, it's so funny where my chemicals just went. One of the great things, and it's funny because I pontificate and share and ponder online 24/7. First of all, just to set the ground rules, I do not have the audacity to think that I'm right about anything, let alone everything. For me, I'm in your camp a little bit, but it's because I think a lot of people do that to funnel people into them to monetize them. So I think about that a lot. And again, I think it's doing real damage like when I post every morning, every evening, I genuinely post deeply from the lens of why would someone give a fuck about this post? Why is this good for them? And I do believe a lot of people on the other side of this podcast are not growing because almost every post is about what's in it for me. I want people to buy my course, my book, my collectible, and so I believe that the flashy stuff is inherently selfish, not selfless. And so, but look, I mean, people are allowed, people are allowed to share. Like, I get it. Again, a lot of people grew up insecure and wanted these things and they're proud and they want to share it. My big thing is that people that have over-indexed on that move, I have found over the last 20 years, tend to struggle to stay on top, tend to be less happy. So it's not only that the audience that's consuming the Lambo or the watch that I'm worried about, but I'm even worried about the person that's sharing it. I'm worried that they won't be able to sustain it.
It's a great, great move. I want to talk to you a little bit about building big companies. You've built a ton. And so with your current knowledge today, I'm curious, let's say you had to go back to your wine days almost. Let's say you owned a laundromat, because I'm into those things.
Yes.
So let's say you owned one laundromat and you had to start your entire empire from one laundromat today. What would you do? What would be the playbook?
Content. Yeah, because, you and I are part of a breed that admires a single laundromat owner. And I think you have really done a good job of tapping into something that I think is black and white, which, we talked about the last time we hung, like this whole, whether you call it micro P or just practical business, obviously Main Street is the way you think about it. I think there's a huge opportunity for a lot of those people to build a brand. In fact, that's what I did. I built my brand. I am that person. I didn't even own the business. It was my dad's business. I was the person who built it, but my original content as Gary Vee, after 5 years or during the 5 years of doing the wine show, my original first ever thoughts about business and life and perspectives were literally out of a liquor store, one store, and I built my brand. I could have easily, if that's what I wanted, opened up 10 more stores, did micro M&A, and I would have built a very substantial franchise or independently owned multi-unit business, which would be worth a lot of money. And in today's environment would be a very attractive PE acquisition, as every small business is going to get consolidated, it feels like these days. So I really, the number one thing I would do is get into content for two reasons. One, if you're capable, building your personal brand, I do believe is a moat. I've always believed that it was the moat. I've talked about it for 15 years that it's the moat. It is the one true asset that doesn't get commoditized, even in an AI world. You still have your IP, it's your copyright, it's you. Two, if you learn to be a content creator, the other thing that worked with me, and this was hand in hand, and this is what I want for this person, is you start getting good at running ads and doing content for your business too. So in my brain, what I'm dreaming up right now is Sally's building up her. She's like, I did this is how I bootstrapped it, or how I inherited it, or whatever's real. Here's what I'm doing. Here's my day-to-day troubles. Here's how I think about it. Oh my God, coins, when people stopped having change on them, we had to put in these, swipe your credit card or just like the battle stories of that business. But also what she will learn in the story that I'm telling is she'll learn what really and by the way, I know a lot of small businesses listen, so let me give it to you very straight. Disproportionately, the biggest opportunity to grow your business, traffic to your business, average receipt size is to run, if you're a local business that people come to, is to run 10-mile radius Facebook ads. And so Sally, in this journey of building up Sally, the laundromat entrepreneur, would also start to learn how to be good at these things, which she would then be able to use to run ads to her business, which is advertising matters. It's always mattered, and it will always matter. And so content.
You know what's so interesting too? In your store, I remember looking back at those old videos of you in your wine business. And today, everybody wants to have a set, right? We're on a borrowed set. This one isn't mine. But, they want to have this fancy set. But you know what the sickest set is today? You're actually a laundromat.
I think so.
Because it's show, don't tell. It's like, no, I own this. I'm not, there's no fluorescent lights here. Watch me do this. You don't think I own it? Look, I'm right here.
I believe the best studio in the world is the world. I tell my clients, which are mainly Fortune 500 companies, I'm like, look, let's make content at stores, in parking lots, at festivals. I genuinely believe that. I've always believed that. I was honestly the Pied Piper in 2009, 10, 11, 12 of no production value. Wine Library TV didn't even have a mic. No lighting, no mic. Literally whatever the camera picked up. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think that store as studio is a big idea.
It's a good framework.
Yeah, I think so. Store as studio is something that I've really championed more privately than publicly. So I'm glad we're getting to pontificate about this. And I think that's right.
Yeah, and it means you don't have to have a bunch of money, because I'm all about the great equalizer. Like yesterday, my husband and I were kind of laughing in New York, because New York's such an equalizer city in some ways,
in the
which
best
is like,
way.
Yeah, so I could drive like a fancy black car, which sometimes I do, and guess what? If you hoof it or if you subway it, you're faster than me. And so like that's a cool equalizer that doesn't exist in a lot of other places. And so I think this is a good example for content. Like the best performing ads for a lot of our businesses are exactly what you said. It's 100%. Like it's a window cleaner cleaning a window and then it reveals a price. Like that's it. There's no production. And so
production often again is disguising insecurity. A lot of people talk about production. If you listen carefully, it's just an excuse to not do. Anyone who says I can't afford it is full of shit. It's called an iPhone. You all have one. The end. Nothing else. Zero. I did it for fucking half a decade. A $239 camera from Best Buy was the only thing I used. Nothing else. Nothing.
Such a good point. Another thing that I really like about you is you kind of said it earlier. You're like, I've taken some punches on the internet. And you had this tweet that I was coming back on, which is, first they'll call you stupid, then they'll call you lucky. Remember, just make sure that you're always executing and they are spending their time calling you things. And I loved that line. How do you deal with haters?
Easily. With compassion, with empathy. I couldn't comprehend living a life where I spend time trying to tear someone down.
Ever? You weren't ever
Even
like that?
I was just about to say, we're starting to get to know each other. I think it's one thing in these settings. I think the thing you would find interesting, and this is going to make sense to you because I'm assuming circles and things you've run in as you've built your career. The thing that blew me away growing up in the game was that A players in private settings would spend a lot of time shitting on other A players. It blew my mind. I remember it was happening to me when Scooter Braun, Maverick Carter, some of these people in business were starting to do really well. And I'd be at these things. I knew both of them well, so it's probably why it triggered for me. When people would be jealous or envious and they themselves, sometimes more successful. I was like, this is weird. This is interesting. Let me take note of this. Oh, insecurity. Oh, wow, they don't realize that the world is I was fascinated. And I understand it because the one place I'm not me is sports fandom. And my level of envy and jealousy of Michael Jordan and Tom Brady and Bulls fans in that era and Patriot fans is like anger, like almost like the most extreme Republican or Democrat feeling about the other side. So I can tap into the emotion that is jealousy and envy. And, because I don't feel in control as a fan. But as a real life human, I feel fully in control. And I couldn't comprehend the idea of deploying jealousy or envy against someone else. So how do I deal with haters? Compassion. I mean, they're just not in a good place. Like there's no other way to say it. Like, could you comprehend spending your time tearing down? And so many people do it. And you're like, I just couldn't, why would I deploy that energy? If I believe something stinks or someone stinks, my immediate reaction is to just walk away in perpetuity. I want to save my energy and time. I got shit to do. I'm trying to win out here. I remember that tweet. I remember that era when I was thinking about it. I always wanted to be an athlete, but it wasn't in the cards. Being a publicly known businessman with, opinions left, right, up, down, I'm like, oh shit, I got to taste it. Like, everyone, it's like hot takes, and I think about it being an athlete, which is, if you're an athlete, just got done with this great Knicks playoff run, but it ended, unfortunately, just a hair too short. But when you're on the court and they're booing you, if you actually take that in, it's very hard to perform. If you take it in and you get excited, that's how I take it. Like, it's the way I deal with it is 90% indifference and compassion. Like, I'm like, who gives a fuck, man, just wish Ricky Pants 49 lived a life where he didn't have to be mad at me because I know I'm triggering insecurities for him. And 10% of gangster, I'm gonna slice your throat. Like, all right, motherfucker, keep talking. Like, oh, really? Like, you think I've made it now? Let me build Disney in front of your face with V-Friends and you're really gonna fucking be angry at 80. So there's a little bit of that. But only 10%, which is I'm very grateful for. Maybe 20%.
Depends on the day.
I like being competitive. I enjoy being competitive. In fact, one of my great angers in the world is 8th place trophies. One of my great angers in the world is when 2 passive parents get lucky enough to birth a competitive kid, probably took after grandma, and then they tell that kid this game that they're crying about doesn't matter. It only matters. Winning and losing is incredibly imperative to the human race. Nothing is good out of balance. Of course, when people are like, Gary, winning and losing, is it okay to hurt people to win? No, it's not okay. But is it okay to completely eliminate merit and competitiveness and winning and losing? No. That leads to, let me say it slow, suicide. This is what people don't understand. When you start to not care about anything, you get into a very dark place. Teaching a young kid nothing matters is a dangerous game. Or sports don't matter, but getting A's matter. You start teaching them fake shit.
Yeah, I think also going back and realizing that nihilism is real. And, some of the greats have talked about the fact that the most horrible thing you can do to an individual is to take away passion in some way, shape, or form.
It's black and white to me.
Yeah.
It's, as someone who's fueled by it, I can, we're animals. I can smell it when someone has it, and I can smell it, only 2 versions I can smell. I can't smell the middle.
Interesting.
But with passion, I can smell the 2 opposites. I can smell when someone's got it.
Yeah.
Which is why I've associated, invested, and been around a lot of people who went on to become enormous. And I can smell when someone doesn't have it at all, which is why I fucking wake up every morning putting out content to get them out of their darkness.
So we've told them that content matters.
Yes.
We've told them that if you're running a small business, you should think about building up your brand. We've talked a little bit about IP. All of this talks about content. But one of the biggest questions I get asked by business owners in our portfolio is, how do you find great talent? How do you find the person to help you with social media?
By realizing you need to be the person that first understands it a little bit. How do you judge something you don't know? If I went into a surgery right now, heart surgery, and I needed to judge what's going on, we have a problem. It's called I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Everybody who's listening, when you own a business, it is hard. When you own a business, you have to be adaptable. When you own a business, you have to deal with the shit. I know that you don't like it. You may even have an ideological disagreement with social media. You must be the person that learns it a little bit so that you can judge the talent. It's not about finding the talent. It's that everybody gave the job to their 20-year-old niece because they thought oh, you're a kid, you get it. The problem is the 20-year-old niece and nephew use social media to fucking hook up, not to build a big business.
Yep.
So, my answer, and I talk to a lot of these businesses as well, is you have to spend 50 to 100 hours educating yourself and then doing. You can't read about push-ups to get the results. You have to read and watch videos and listen. I even made it easier for you. GaryVee.com/attention. I literally took my last book, which is $20 fucking. I'm like, you can't afford $20? How about this? A 44-page free deck to tell you exactly what to do.
Good. But I recommend the book.
Thank you.
I gave day trading attention to all of my social team.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, again, you said thank you, but I said no, thank you, because
I get
it's
it.
actually super.
It's why I believe in books. I'm like, I cannot believe I charge hundreds of thousands of dollars to clients for, consulting, and this $20 fucking book is like pretty much there.
Yeah, 100. Well, and to be fair, why wouldn't I steal your 27 years doing this?
And more importantly, my actual living the thesis of the book. It's not my only 30 years of working. It's my last 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, that was different.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what's so interesting about the books I write. I don't write evergreen books. Day trading attention is just the follow up to jab, 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 right hook.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just 10 years later because shit changed. All I want to do, I'm incredibly obsessed with the contemporary. I want to be obsessed with the history to understand the contemporary, and then I just want to be of today.
Yeah, there was this great line, actually, when I was coming up with a bio on you that I was reading to Kate that is, I think, perfect for you. And it was about the fact that you are pathologically practical about where eyeballs were moving. Like, that is so true. You're pathological. Like, you are obsessed. And I think that's what it takes to win. I guess I want to close out with two questions here.
Please.
One of them is, you've mastered these underpriced attention platforms at varying times. You talk about it in all of your books. At any given time, there's an underpriced platform. So let's give the people the non-evergreen. What is that today? Where is the underpriced attention today?
Live social shopping. If you sell anything, and this is huge for your crew, if you sell anything, that's not a physical thing, not a service. VaynerMedia doesn't do this. I can't do this with VaynerMedia. We don't sell a physical thing. If you sell a physical thing, which a lot of you do, every one of you has to learn everything you can about TikTok Shop and whatnot. WHAT, Those are the two leaders right now. I expect Meta, Google, Twitter, everybody to get into this game. Live social shopping is the underpriced attention. There are a ton of creators right now who will never get millions of followers and make millions of dollars. But if they switch to being someone that sells something on social instead of making lifestyle content, they will make millions of dollars.
So smart.
I forced Mike to do a garage sale. Mike did a garage sale on whatnot this Saturday and made $700. Yeah. Now I know you sold some trading cards and stuff like that, but you also, because I heard you were going to do just trading cards. I'm like, no. I need you to sell some random shit in the house. Give me one example of something that was literally sitting collecting dust in your apartment and you sold for how much?
A box of Legos.
Right.
Do we include shipping and handling?
Yeah, you charge I love this.
Perfect.
Every time I do garage sales and everything, everyone's like, what about the shipping? I'm like, you charge shipping. What about the eBay fee? I'm like, everything has a cost. People love an excuse, right? People look for the why not.
Yep.
I literally think garage sales and flea markets are going to happen in live social shopping. It's not just someone who starts a beauty brand
or like those storage units. Kate, we're doing your
Crush.
storage unit. She has one here that she's had for 2 years.
Right. She's paying monthly
She's
fee.
paying $25 a month.
Yep.
We should just do it live on YouTube.
Not YouTube, because they don't have that yet.
Well, so I want to turn it into a YouTube video, but do it live on Whatnot or TikTok
You can
Shop.
make a YouTube video because that's great because that's content. But live, the QVCification of social media is here.
Yeah.
Listen to these stats. 30%. This is a stat. I'm always a little weird with stats, but this is real. China is fully here. China's got obviously one of the biggest economies in the world. Live social shopping in China now, by the most conservative estimates, represents 30% of all e-commerce in China.
Get the fuck out.
A $500 billion economy of live shopping in China that is bigger than almost every nation's economy. In the US, I just had the CEO of QVC. He put out this stat that I'm going to try to validate this week, but it feels right-ish. He's like, we're already at 6% on live shopping in the US, and no one's even seeing it yet.
What's that? Do we know what that is compared to what QVC used to be? Because it was like a lot, then nothing, then now growing.
QVC has always been a ton.
Okay.
And it's not a lot.
Yeah.
It was still doing an ungodly amount of business. There's something about the behavior. You're almost like paying for the entertainment You're like tipping the host. You're like part of the community. I have this concept called commerce-tainment. So ready? How about this? You're a hairdresser right now listening, and you sell shampoos and other shit, soaps and all the fucking shit in your place, right? You can go live on Whatnot right now. At the bottom of the screen is like this $12 shampoo, and you could just buy it while you're teaching people how to use the shampoo on a customer. This is real. Tea with Gary Vee, which I really did really well during COVID. I've brought back. I love doing Q&A. On Tea with Gary Vee, I now do it on Whatnot, not on Instagram Live. I do it on all my socials, but I drive to Whatnot. I drink out of a VeeFriends mug, and the mug is pinned at the bottom of the screen. And while I'm doing the show, people are buying the mug.
Get out.
Commerce-tainment. I'm not even selling in that format.
It's just subliminal right there.
Yeah, or I'll make a reference of like, hey, you like my mug? You get like it's a mini commercial. It's not even a commercial.
Interesting.
So
and you just like experimenting. Like that's part of your thing. You just never stop experimenting.
Yes, after it's been validated.
Okay.
I have $1 trillion stuff sells in China. Now we have those functionalities. It's going to happen here. It's happening here. TikTok Shop is insane. You, for your portfolio, must deeply understand TikTok Shop. So live social shopping is one of them.
Okay.
Within social, I'm a big fan for people that are obsessed with TikTok on Snapchat Spotlight. So Snapchat Spotlight is much smaller, but it's their TikTok, right? It's in their UI, and there's a fuckload of 15 to 30-year-olds in it. But here's the good part, supply and demand of attention. Like I talked about in day trading, there's a lot of kids on it. They spend a lot less time on it than they do on TikTok. When I say kids, I say 15 to 30. So if you sell to 15 to 30, but the supply's low. Nobody's posting on there. So I'm very hot on Snapchat Spotlight. Substack, I think is really, really interesting. I'm about to delve in. IRL streaming, so Twitch.
You got to check out Beehive. I'm an investor in it, so
I know
obviously
Beehive.
very biased.
I will absolutely do
but
that.
Those guys, and they're here. I've never met faster builders. We invest in a lot of companies, and shout out Tyler Denk. He's an absolute psychopath. He's like what you talked about.
Speed.
Dude,
It's like
I think
sports.
he's going to eat Snapchat's, Substack's lunch.
I love
but
it.
We'll
Good
see.
for them. Yeah. Look, and it's not even, you know this, you're too smart for this. I don't think Beehive's going to eat Substack's lunch. I think it's an and, not an or.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's too big of an addressable market.
Yeah, very
it's
true.
Uber Lyft.
That's true.
Like when I was like, oh, Lyft, because I was an early investor in Uber, I was like, oh fuck, Lyft's going to do well. Yeah. But I wasn't
And
like,
you want multiple to do well.
yeah, I mean, look, like when you're on it, like I don't want the Patriots, Bills, and Dolphins to do well. Like I don't mind competition. I just know it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you have a few, then you grow the market share entirely,
Yeah,
which
but
usually
both of those companies are going into a trend that's happened.
Yeah.
Like Medium I was an investor in Medium, which was Eb Williams, you know, who's an iconic entrepreneur, co-founder of Twitter, and before that Odeo, and Blogger before that, and one of the first, you know, blogging platforms, like subscription, Patreon, OnlyFans, like, and then the social sites are going to start. You can already see some of the moves they're doing, like, fuck all these other places. We've got all the audience. We're going to monetize. So there's a lot to it, but these are things I'm looking at every day.
Let's end on AI.
AI.
So what are your craziest predictions when it comes to AI?
Well, I've gone pretty viral lately because my craziest prediction is that most people's grandchildren will marry an AI robot.
Fuck my life.
Some of them will. Not everyone's going to, but I think this is the biggest thing we've seen since the internet. It's that big. When the internet came along, my thesis when I was a kid was, oh, this is like I bet my life on it. And the bet was, this is the biggest transformation ever. And like everybody will be on the internet. And when I tell you, when I said that in 95, 6 or 7, people laughed. When people are like, when they talk about AI, I don't think they realize it's oxygen. Like when I get excited about the blockchain, NFTs, Bitcoin, that is a big deal. When I get excited about social media, that was a very big deal. Email, Google search, these are big deals. This is a level above. This is internet and AI. Meaning I view AI as almost boring to talk about because is it fun to talk about the internet as a foundation? Like no, we talk about the things on top of it. To me, AI is now like omnipresent. It's a reality of life. And there's a real decade of recalibration, reckoning, disruption, opportunity. I'm baffled at anyone who's not spending an hour a day learning about AI and using AI. I couldn't imagine. And I spend a lot of time prompt engineering, just if you don't know what that means, Google it or AI it. And that's what's so funny. Like even Googling it, I noticed I said to somebody the other day, I'm like, AI it. Like go Gemini it, go Perplexity, go Gronk it, go OpenAI, ChatGPT it. It's huge. And it's like the wildest predictions are the Internet of Things, it thinking for you, it ordering. Like I think all of shopping will be done by agents for you based on your behaviors. Like it will know better that you wanted that outfit than you knew.
Facebook already knows me better than my husband with my shopping preferences.
Most things know things better than husbands know. We're a bunch of idiots. I think that it is very clear to me that we are going into a transformative half century where AI will be like the piping of this reality. Piping, railroads, infrastructure, oxygen, whatever you want to call it. This is the biggest thing that's happened in a long time.
Let's give people a couple things to do on that. Somebody's listening, they're like, all right, fuck it. Gary told me to do AI. What does do AI daily in order to get better at it look like?
Inside of Twitter X, using Gronk, Perplexity, or Google Gemini, or probably the one that ChatGPT is so strong and so easy and common for people. Download it and use it every day. And then use it to, here's how I use AI. Hey, AI, hey, this is what I do actually almost every week. What are the 5 AI apps that popped in the last week that I should pay attention to? AI is answering that question for me so that I can go look at those apps and understand what's happening. Also, real quick, because I know a lot of smart investors listening here, be very careful in investing in AI. The reason I haven't yet is every week you think you just invested in the best X, and a week later somebody crushes that. The speed, you want to talk about speed? The speed in which these apps are getting updated and better is profound.
It is the first time that I am annoyingly an evangelist for tech that is not something I've invested in or own. I won't shut up about. I'm like Whisper Flow. Fuck the keyboard. The keyboard's gone. You just,
gone.
Yeah, you just voice text and it's perfect from now on. I mean, that's wild.
What about the fact that nobody has to learn a language anymore? Everyone's going to have earpods that you're going to talk to somebody, they're going to be speaking Spanish and you'll hear it as English, and you're going to speak English and they'll hear it as Spanish and Portuguese and Korean. There's profound things coming. But the wildest one is we're going to fall in love with these, AIs, and then we're going to put that in love AI into robot bodies. And those robot bodies are going to go from looking like RoboCop to looking like, Megan Fox.
Sydney Sweeney.
And, that Megan Fox movie is a preview. Yeah.
Does that make you sad?
No, it doesn't.
Happy?
No. It makes me understand that this is how it's always been. Cavemen were different than you and I were. Supposedly we were apes, right? So does it make our apes mad that we shit changes? I'm not people are always like, Gary, that's gross, or you need Jesus. Or I'm like, look, I'm not advocating for it.
Yeah, you're just predicting.
In fact, I'm advocating for simplicity. I think I'm sad for people that wear gold chains and fucking take pictures in private planes. So I love when people are like, this is sad. I'm like, you're sad. This is what's brewing. This is what could happen. You're asking for a prediction. I'm guessing, but it fucking feels like it's coming.
I think I think you're right. I do think it's a little sad, but that is every generation.
But by the way, I go back to this. We're in charge. If you think it's sad as a human one day, you can parent and grandparent your kid into understanding the value of a human versus a robot. Right? The problem is that we have to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. The reason the robots are trending, in my opinion, long term, is we want everything perfect.
It's exactly why.
Yeah. But by the way, are we robots? Let me explain. Ozempic, vanity, hair extensions, boob jobs, fucking testosterone, HGH, like makeup, like, you know, like people can argue we're sad. We become very, very, very visual. Like 40, 50-year-old men and women, like you and I, 2 generations ago, do not look like the way we look. And those people can say we're sad. Why do we have to alter ourselves? What's plastic surgery? What's Botox? You know?
Gary's going to be like this in 10 years, maybe?
I'm probably not, but I don't judge people that are. Yeah. I just judge when they say something sad when they're doing the sad thing. I remember in the 80s when like I was a kid, but I remember when everybody frowned on someone who had a boob job.
And now they're everywhere.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
And so like, I don't know, is lip filler like sad to a woman from 1949? It sure is. They think you're fucking sad.
Zoom out, huh?
So just because you think a robot's sad, like it's just gonna keep doing shit. And I get what people are gonna say in the comments, like, yeah, but that's still a human being. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know, like, okay.
I hired an AI specialist who's so amazing. You walk into my office. Yep. The first time I meet the guy in person, because we were interviewing him on a project basis. Anyway, he's sitting in the front area of my office. He's got a hoodie on. He's got those, what are those things called?
VR glasses.
VR glasses. Mm-hmm. And he's just fucking maestroing in front. And I, taking a little video because it's funny. His name's Chadwick. He's brilliant. Yep. And his entire job is to see where AI can play in our companies. But I started talking to him about this idea, and he pushed me really hard on our humans, robots. He goes, should they be able to vote? Immediate reaction, fuck no, they shouldn't be able to vote. He goes, okay, what about a human with a fake leg? What about a human with 2 robotic legs? What about a human with a neuro transplant in their head? Where does it become a human instead of a robot? And I was like, poof.
Yeah, and by the way, it might not even be right. Like, meaning like it could be the end of the human race. And I'm like, okay. Like, do you think I want that? But my intuition is that my grandkids will be gone by the time that happens. And like, you don't get to control the future. Like, what is this audate? This is where the whole politics thing has gotten me crazy. Like, we've gotten to this era where people have the audacity to think the world should be how they see it. I have passionate points of view. We just spent fucking an hour on it. I don't think I'm right, and I don't think it should be the way I see it. Like, and most of all, you can't stop it. Right. Technology is undefeated. By the way, as I sign off, electricity, demonized when it came out. Actually, the word demonized. When electricity was invented, people did not put it in their home and still chose lanterns and candles because the word on the street was electricity had demons in it. We're scared of new shit.
Gary V, you're the man. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
You guys, this was wild. I was just looking, and it looks like more than 50% of you are not subscribed to the Big Deal podcast. When you subscribe, first of all, it means we get to bring you bigger and better guests. It's also the #1 way you can support this podcast. If you liked it today, subscribe on whatever channel that you're listening to. And I want to tell you something firsthand. You become whatever you allow into your attention span. And what I hope you feel from us every single day is that I value your attention and your time more than anything else. I promise to only bring you things that are going to make you more money. They're going to make you more motivated to make your life better. So give me a little solid here. Subscribe to the channel. This is how we grow. Also, leave me a review on what you want better and who you want on. I promise you will do it. Hey, if you're a business owner right now and you like the things you were hearing on this podcast, I have something that I haven't talked about publicly before that's just for you. It's called our SMB Boardroom. This is for small business owners who want to grow. It is for business owners who are on their way to making at least 7 figures a year. If this is you, hit the link down below, talk to our team. This is the place that can be your late night emergency call for the things that go bump in the night in your business. If right now you feel like you're plateauing or you feel like you don't know how to handle your growth, we got you. So click the link below, SMB Boardroom. We just built it for you builders. Kind of obsessed with it. And I think if you are a builder, there's no place you're going to want to be except here. Hey guys, if you've ever thought about buying a business, we've built what I think is the best acquisitions and business buying community and education curriculum in the world. If you've ever thought about wanting to buy or own a business, or if you want to add more businesses to the mix, it's called the Contrarian Community. And what this is the goal is we give you the 3 things that the best business buyers use: your own advisory team, your own investment committee, and a deal team. We get together each week to review deals live and beat up all the deals that you're currently looking at, while you simultaneously learn the best way possible, which is called modeling, by seeing other people put together deals. This is how private equity buys businesses. This is how investment teams work. And we're stealing the methods from Wall Street and giving them to you. If this is interesting to you, go to click the link and you can actually talk to my team direct about if this is a fit or not. We can help guide you. The link is in the show description.
When people feel like they know you and you just open up to everybody, then you just gave them the green light to take advantage of you.
Today I've got Evie Pomporas. She's not just a former Secret Service agent who protected 4 presidents and tons of dignitaries. She's a master of influence, lie detection, and psychological strength.
Nice people can screw you over. Everyone's on their own journey for their own self-interest, and along the way, they may burn you.
And she is going to teach you today how to stop getting played in business, relationships, and life.
If you struggle with people and they take advantage of you, stop talking a lot.
If you've ever wanted to read people like a pro, speak with power, or walk into any room and own it, this is your episode.
Once you set the tone for people on how to treat you, it's done. It's so done.
You have been with the biggest leaders in the world, right?
Yeah.
10 or 12 years with presidents.
Had them either when they were current or in former. So Ford, before he passed away, I had Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Obama, Clinton's. I've had everybody but Reagan.
That is wild.
I wanted Reagan. I heard he was a great guy.
Yeah, he seems like a legend. Having been with these huge world leaders, the best in the world, I'm curious. Yeah, what do you learn?
When you're in the White House, you're in proximity. So a lot of folks don't know. So you're protecting presidents, current and former, and you're also protecting foreign heads of state. So a lot of folks don't know that when a foreign head of state comes to the United States, they would get Secret Service protection. And the goal is that you don't want foreign heads of state being assassinated on U.S. soil. I grew up in an environment, and probably like from my early 20s on, being in an environment around this type of leadership. And without me realizing it, I was getting training. One thing I learned was truly resiliency. I mean, you'd be next to a president. I mean, literally, you're standing next to them and the screen's on and it's a network that doesn't like them and is literally just calling them all the names you could think of. And they had to tune that out and either get back up on stage to give a speech or go out there. And you would see it. Or there was one day, and I forget what it was, but where all the Congress members would come to the White House. Mm-hmm. And there was a name for it. It's escaping me. And it was a day where the First Lady and the President would have to greet them and spend the day with them. But there would be the same members also within there that like literally spewed just horrible things about them. And they would have to come and be gracious. And so I really learned how not to engage in conflict unless necessary, or also not even in conflict, but like to decide what was worth engaging in and what's not, and what's just to dismiss, like what doesn't matter. So you learn how to deal with people, but with grace and class. That was one thing I learned. The other thing that I thought was really smart that they did, it was always a circle of people around them. So they created a buffer. So even though there's negative things and chaos going around you, which there always is, you have a select group of people that you've selected. They've gone through your filter system. A lot of them were loyal people. And that buffer of people kept them clear, calm, and they were almost like a barrier to the outside world. So I learned having layers of zones of people. You have your innermost zone. There's not one circle. It's multiple circles. So you've got your intimate circle, which is your people, where there's very high level of trust. You've got an outer zone where it's friendly, but not complete trust. I'll give you some trust. Yeah. Then there's the acquaintance zone where you want to network and deal with these people, or you have to. Outer circle where these are people just like looking to just devour you, but you still have to deal with them. So it's almost like these concentric zones.
Yeah.
And so I learned watching that. I didn't realize it till actually the most recent years when people were like, why do you do that? And I kept thinking, well, why wouldn't I do that? I got into the Secret Service 23. So I was exposed to that from a young age and absorbed it. So you learn a lot from the way people carry themselves and you absorb that. So just because I happen to be around them, I absorb those characteristics.
It seems like everybody thinks that authenticity and vulnerability and sharing is the best trait one can have. You know, let me share everything. Let me overshare everything. Let me be authentic by sharing everything. We've kind of forgotten that humans can have good intentions and bad intentions, and you have to guard a little bit what you share publicly. And so I love the idea of like, who are your close friends? And you don't have to treat everybody the exact same. You can treat people kindly everywhere, but you don't have to let everybody in. And I've certainly found that being more public now, and I'm sure you have too. In the beginning, I was like, everybody's my buddy. And then later I realized like, oh no, they're just really charismatic. Like we're not friends. That's their job, is to like make me feel like I'm their friend. And I think a lot of the world around us is like that. And so, you know, I'd be curious your take. Do you think that being authentic and vulnerable all the time is good? And that's what you should do?
No. This whole vulnerable thing, I always hear it. Here's the problem with that. If I'm going to share something with you, it should be truthful. And it should be done genuinely. Like, don't give me a story because you're trying to get me to put my guard down. How about you just be a genuine person?
Yeah.
How about you just be truthful, respectful, and professional, and let things happen on their own organically. And this authentic thing, so that's another thing. Probably the worst person, Cody, to ask these questions. I just, you know, I want to be transparent and honest with people because I feel like they're given things to do and it does not work. And it sabotages their efforts. And then they're kind of at a loss. I don't understand why I'm having problems with people. I don't understand why I don't have better relationships. So being authentic, first of all, what does that mean? Just be genuine. It's not, I think what people think authentic means is I'm going to come in, I'm going to be me, and whoever likes it. You need to bring different versions of you to different conversations and to different people. I'm in business now. You and I were talking a little bit off camera. And when I work with people or have people work with me, I want the business version of you. Yeah. I don't want the version of you that comes in, Evie, I need advice. I don't mind from time to time, but I'm running a business. So if you come in authentically, like I'm having a horrible day, Evie, I need this, I need that. I'm truly sorry to hear that, but that doesn't work with the business version of me. I can't get things done. So I need this professional, strong version of you to show up for me. That's where this authentic thing leads people. And I do a lot of keynotes. By mistake, I kind of happened to stumble to doing keynotes for big companies. And I mean like Fortune 100 companies. And I'm putting it out there, everybody, so they know, one of the biggest complaints they have is we're getting people in who have a weak work ethic, who are bringing versions of themselves that is not helping the whole mission of the company, that we're having difficult time keeping people, finding the right people, then bringing people who will blend into our culture and make it strong. And there's this heightened level of weakness that's coming out. I'm also an adjunct professor. I see it with my students. Mm-hmm. They are shocked when I hold them accountable for an assignment. They are shocked when I won't accept a late assignment. Shocked. And I'm like, why would I accept it? I gave you outlines, I gave you parameters. I made it very clear to you day one during our interview together before you came to my class, because it's like a job interview, whether you should stay in my class or not, what I expect. But they're surprised when I hold them accountable to what I told you I expect.
That's wild. I mean, I believe it.
Because people say, I expect this of you, but then I do this. So then what we do is we groom people. I may tell you I want this from you, but my behavior says, okay, I know the syllabus says, don't hand this late. And that I won't accept it. And, you know I told you on the first day that don't bother handing in a late assignment. But then when you do come to me with a late assignment, then I break and I'm like, okay, give it to me. I'm the problem.
Yeah.
I'm the problem. And I'm also not guiding you for the outside world to be your best.
I think I heard you say somewhere, and I really liked it, that, a boundary is something that you actually hold. Otherwise, you're just talking. And I love this. It's like, in this world, if you don't keep your promises to yourself, and if you don't keep the promises that you say you will out loud to another, that's probably the worst promise you could break,
Well, you get mad at yourself too.
Yeah.
And that's when people walk all over you. And it's a common thing. People come to me, this person keeps doing this to me. And I'm always like, you realize you play a role. It's not I'm not being mean. It's like, and I'm not blaming you. It's like, you have to always be like, what am I doing that's causing this? Every time I struggle with something or someone, I always go back in, okay, what am I doing that's helping contribute to this circumstance, to this situation, to this environment? So I may not be the whole solution, because it's always 50%, 50% me, 50% you, but I'm going to manage my 50.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with myself. In US culture, we minimize the things we do wrong. I'm an adjunct professor in psychology, so I'll share a little bit of like what I've learned from the different cultures, where if you look at an Asian culture, they're very much more about community and doing the right things for the whole community. And if they do something wrong, they will look at, what did I do wrong and how can I change this? They're a little bit more honest. In US culture, Western culture, we minimize our shortfalls. We like to minimize them. And so you want to find a balance. Like, you don't want to beat yourself up, because I don't think that is healthy. But I think we've gone to a point where we're so extreme. It's not my fault. It's this thing's fault. It's that thing's fault. And again, you can do that. It doesn't serve you. And I think it creates problems for you and struggles for you that you help to cultivate.
Yeah. So what would the solution be for somebody who maybe says, I'm typically a victim, and, this keeps happening to me. I keep having this. I wish it would change. What are the words you tell them? You say, sit down, do X, Y, and Z. You say, keep your promises to yourself. What is the tactical next move to break that habit of blaming everybody else?
Well, the first move is to stop saying that to yourself. It's the words you feed your mind. It's like you're feeding it to your mind. Just, I'm not a victim. I've never used that word in my life. And I, like everybody else, have gone through my share of difficulties and hardships. And again, it varies, what bad thing I go through varies compared to other people. Like, my bad thing may be very bad for me, but for somebody else, it's like, meh, right? Or vice versa. But change the way you talk to yourself. So this, I'm a victim, get rid of that. No, you're not. You're nobody's prey. You're nobody's prey. I am nobody's prey. Change that tone in your head. It always starts first with the way you speak to yourself and the way you groom your mind to think of yourself. One of the things that helped me a lot is I learned to read people well. So now you would say to me, well, you have an unfair training and you are an interviewer, investigator. You don't need all that. You really just need to be less talkative. If you struggle with people a lot and they take advantage of you, stop talking a lot. So there's a couple of reasons why. One reason is I want you to gather intelligence. You got to think of it like you're an intel gatherer. So when you're talking, you're not gathering anything. You're gathering zero. So you want to get good read on them, let them reveal, give people space to reveal themselves. So that's one. So now I'm reading you and getting you. I always reflect back. I'm like a mirror. Tell me about that. Oh, no kidding. Tell me about you, especially if I'm in the dark with something. So that's one. The other thing is, when you're talking, it's very hard to read people. It's a high cognitive load. So the more quiet you can be, the better you're going to be at picking up cues. And even though you can't articulate what that person did that you don't like, you feel it. You feel it. Just the other day, somebody was telling me about something about someone else. And they're like, I just don't feel right with this person. But I keep engaging them because I can't articulate what the reason is. And I'm like, no, you need to listen to that, because you're picking something up. You just may not have the skill set yet to define what that is, that cue or that the words or tone or whatever that is they're doing that caused this hiccup for you, but you need to follow it.
Yeah.
Lighten your load. When you go quiet, it's a lower cognitive load. That's why when we did interviews, I was a polygraph examiner with the U.S. Secret Service. I never did criminal interviews alone. Never. I always had a partner. And here's why. And we would say, I'm going to be primary, or you're going to be primary, I'm going to be secondary. And the reason why was because I'm talking to my person, my subject. My load is high, so I'm missing things. I'm trying to figure out what to say, how to say it, read you at the same time, listening to your responses. What should I say next? Oh no, how should I shape this question if I follow up with this? Is there an issue here? But this person here who's sitting quietly next to me is picking up all the things that I'm missing. And so what we would do is we actually had chairs with wheels on them. And so these have wheels. So when I would get stuck, I would organically just wheel back. And it was the cue for my secondary to wheel up and jump in. And then they would pick up all the things that I missed. And they would say, earlier on, you mentioned this. Could you tell me a little bit about that? That's why being quiet is so powerful. It lightens your load. So if a person feels very overwhelmed, or they feel that they're being kind of taken for a ride over and over again, go quiet and really let people reveal themselves. And then the other thing is, don't crush so hard. When you meet someone and let's say you really like them, just don't go all the way in. Mm-hmm. Don't crush so hard, and don't chase the like. We like it when people like us, right? You get the dopamine hit. Who doesn't want to be liked? But the thing is, not everybody is going to be in alignment and in harmony with you. Mm-hmm. And so again, they can be nice, but their value system, belief system, agendas in life are different than yours. And that's going to lead to bumps later on. And so you will save yourself sometimes a lot of pain and hardship if you don't like so hard.
Yeah, I think the first time I realized that was when I started having business partners and I wasn't very good at picking them. And I would crush too hard too fast. And then I would feel bad for pulling back. I would have that little flare, that little thing in my stomach where I thought, oof, we're out of alignment and something's off. But we were too far in. Now I'm like, what am I going to do? Pull away, no longer talk to this person? So this whole inner dialogue. And Chris, my husband, said something great to me, which was, he's like, people are hard to conceal over time. And he said, especially people are hard to conceal in the evening. And I don't know if this is true because we should talk about your time with interrogations and lie detections. But he was saying that one of the favorite things that he liked to do when he did his job in the military was he wouldn't ask the hard questions in the morning, when a coffee was happening with a subject that they were interested in. It would typically be in the evening after they were together for a long day. Lots of stuff was happening. They weren't exactly sure, when the next coffee would come, when the next water. And that's when the person would kind of reveal. They'd be tired. It would be hard to keep up a veneer. And I thought that was really clever because, everybody kind of looks better with a fresh cup of coffee. But with you in particular, God, some of your work on interrogation and lie detection I thought was so interesting. I was wondering if you had any stories about a time you caught someone lying and how you could actually tell that they were.
It was an applicant for a job. And he was having a hard time passing his polygraph. He was being polygraphed in the U.S. Secret Service. To be an agent, you have to take a polygraph and pass it. And it's a hard thing for some people. And so this applicant, who's like a football player, very well liked by everybody, takes his first polygraph. He doesn't fail it. He doesn't pass it. He's what's inconclusive. And I'm asked to come in to give him a fresh face because we would have this rule: you never wanted the same person to interview you a second time. You want a clean face. So this young man in the interview was telling me about, you go through, I can't give too much away, but in the polygraph for the U.S. Secret Service, you ask them what crimes they've committed in life. And most people will tell you, no, I've never done anything. Well, I get very specific and granular and I go through each crime. And often people are like, no, I've never been arrested. And, I was like, that's not what I asked you. You can commit a crime and get away with it. In fact, in the U.S., the data shows 80% of crime goes unsolved. We have a lot of crime. So as I'm speaking to him, somehow, without getting too much in the weeds, he started to reveal to me a date he went on with a woman while he was in college, and that he had been intimate with her, but then after the fact, she left very upset. So I hear this and I'm, okay, this is bothering him. Why? And I had him talk me through the date. And then I had them talk me carefully through their intimacy and how that transpired. And, in that, he revealed I held her wrists down. She was very upset. She was crying. How she left. And without him saying rape, he described to me what would be considered a rape.
Wow.
So he never said it. But what he did is he gave admissions. I held her wrists down. She said it hurt. She was crying. She left in tears. And there were other things he shared. All these things together, when you put them together, paint that picture of this is what he did to her. And so that's how I knew what he had done. So actually, I can't recall at the moment. I don't think I even polyed him. I got all the admissions and I knew in that moment, I'm like, he can't. It's not going to happen for him. And nice guy. Very nice guy. He seemed super nice in the chair, but you could see he's having this moment of looking back and thinking, what did I do? But he's telling me the story through his lens.
Yep.
Through his lens, he's like, well, she said no. I'm like, how many times did she say no? She said no the whole time. And so all these different pieces. And that would be, those are very good examples of, don't wait for people to tell you, I did this or I did that. They give you what's called admissions. And they're little peeks behind the veil to show you. But what you have to do, and what I learned to do, and I still do, is when they give you a little peek, ask them a question that helps the curtain get pulled back a little bit more. Don't just let it go. So like what I did with him was, okay, when you held her wrists, what did she say? Okay, I would always use the words they would give me. So never in that interview did I say the word rape or that you violated her. I used his words because it made him more comfortable to say more. I reflected back. It's called reflecting language. And it's something you can use with anybody because it makes people feel a little bit more that you're in harmony with them. So when you speak to me, I'll reflect language you use back to show you I'm listening to you. And admissions are powerful. Everyone's always look for the confession and whatever somebody does to you. I want him to tell me he did this or she did that or they stole that money or they cheated on me. You don't need that. You need the admissions to put a picture together. You don't need to be right, and they don't even need to know that you know. It's for you to know so that you can make sound decisions for yourself.
Yeah, because you're right. A lot of times people these days will say, I need them to fully admit it. I need to get through this and I'll be fully healed when they say this.
You will never be,
right?
You will not be fully healed because there's no such thing as being fully healed. You recover and you become resilient and you bounce back. I believe in that. And you can take what's happened to you. But if you're looking to heal, by the time you heal, if you're even able to, like the next slap in the face is going to come and then the next slap in the face. So you're spending your whole life healing. It's just going to be, life is a revolving door of just people that are going to come in your life. And some of them are going to be knuckleheads. And they're just going to hit you and crush you, knock you down. And you just have to become resilient and push back. So I think people also, this whole heal thing, it's not fair to people because I also know a lot of people that think something's wrong with me because I can't fully heal from what happened to me. And sometimes the stories are so egregious where I'm like, how could you ever fully heal from that? I appreciate the obstacles that I've gone through. I'm not saying they don't hurt, but all I'm saying is it's not fair to tell people fully heal and then people feel inadequate because they can't fully heal. You don't need to heal to be resilient. Those two things are not the same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, you have been through some serious things. I mean, you were on scene at 9/11 by the World Trade Centers, as far as I read online. And, not only were you there and chose to run towards explosions, but it kind of was happening all around you. So it's many people could have been through something like that and said, I'm a victim and this is what happened to me. And I could remember all that. And still you chose not to do that.
Here's the thing. When you relive a bad experience or even a bad fight or bad anything, it's rumination, right? And again, I'm going to go back to my psychology teaching as an adjunct. When you ruminate over something, you notice how sometimes it can be addicting.
Yeah.
It actually gives you the same high. It actually activates the same part of the brain that gets activated when you do coke. And it almost creates, it activates that part of the brain. And so for folks to hear that, it's like, no, like that's why you kind of get almost like sort of addicted to like playing this record. And if you seek therapy, there's nothing wrong with it. There's some people that really genuinely need it. I always tell people, go find somebody who's helping you move forward, not retell your pain. I actually had dinner the other night with a woman, and she had been years ago here in New York City. There was a Long Island Railroad shooting. And there was a gunman who opened fire on people on the Long Island Railroad. It was many, many years ago. And she and I were talking because I used to intern for a woman named Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy. And McCarthy's husband was on that train. He was killed. Her son was shot and he was paralyzed. Wow. And the woman I happened to be having dinner with, unbeknownst to me, it was a group dinner, says, I know Carolyn. And I said, how do you know her? She said, because I was on that train. I was shot twice. And I said, I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're okay. And we started talking. And she used to tell me, every year we had this dinner and get together. And she said, I stopped going. I said, why? She's like, I didn't want to relive it. She's like, it wasn't helping me to relive something horrible that happened to me. She's like, I wanted to let it go.
Rare and so important.
Most founders think they have a traffic problem, so they throw money at ads, more content, more clicks. But the truth is, your site visitors aren't the problem. Your follow-up is. If someone visits your store, adds to cart, then disappears, most platforms just let them leave. OmniSend doesn't. It triggers abandoned cart flows, win-back emails, and even browse abandonment messages all on autopilot. It's not just email, it's email plus SMS with smart segmentation built in. You can trigger a discount code to someone who clicked but didn't buy. You can follow up with a new product after someone made a purchase. You can even A/B test everything to find what actually converts. And you don't need 5 different apps to do it. OmniSend gives you all the tools without the Frankenstein stack. If you're bleeding leads and calling it low conversion, stop. You don't need more eyeballs. You need a machine that closes. That's what OmniSend is.
And I think about those moments, like the scary moments in our lives and whether we choose to lean into them or not. You've kind of built an entire career around leaning into them, it seems like to me.
By mistake.
Like I think about you because you were a police woman.
I started in the NYPD as a recruit, yes.
And so you also kind of would sit across the table from criminals and from predators and from what I would anticipate as scary people. What are predators actually like? What are criminals like?
You would think for the most part that these were just like apex predators, or they would look like it, and they didn't. I remember one interview I did. It was a father. He had 3 kids, and there had been, I want to be careful how I say it because it's delicate, but basically child pornography on his devices. And the police needed help understanding what was going on. I interview him. What he ended up doing is he looked like nothing. Like he looked like 160 pounds soaking wet, maybe lighter. I thought I was like, I could take you. And I'm, But when he walked into the room, I was always surprised to see would walk in the room. And like what he used to do, which was clever, which a lot of them do, he used his kids to get them to bring other kids to their home. And they would go downstairs in the basement and he would shoot videos with all these little kids. And so you would think when I tell you that, you're waiting for this like apex predator to walk in that looks it. You would never pick him out. In fact, he looked like somebody who would be bullied. And that's why I always caution people, like bad people. And I always be careful with that word. Like it's not about what people look like. You don't know what's inside someone. We had this saying in the polygraph in the interview room, like Anybody is capable of anything at any given moment in time if given the opportunity.
Wow.
So the way to protect yourself without being cynical, it's not about being cynical, is assess people's behavior. That's why you can't look at someone. I always say don't label the person like labels are for clothing. Label the behavior and like be quiet and give people time to see what they're about.
Yeah.
And they will reveal it. But people who prey don't look like prey. And you know what's also interesting, what I learned about predators, do you know who they prey on? Kids, number one, because they're easy to prey on. Women, number two, because as much as I may not want to say it, but it's just the truth, physically, biologically, like we are in a sense, the other gender, male gender is just physically stronger than us. So they can to some degree overpower us. Depends, not everybody, but for the most part. So there's that physical thing there. And then the elderly. 3 populations that are preyed upon the most by predators. So if I tell you that, then what does that tell you about a predator?
They're pretty weak.
Exactly. I'm not picking on the guy that's going to give me a run for my money. I want easy prey. So a big part of it is your mindset. Like if people think, and this is for anybody, it's like if people feel like you got a little bit of crazy, they're going to think twice.
That's so true.
I'm sorry. It's true. You want people to be like, I'm not telling you to go around being crazy person.
I listen to Evie.
but you just want people to feel, I don't want to cross a line with her or with him or whoever. Just let them feel it. And that has to do with respect. It has to do with the way you carry yourself. It has to do with what you emanate out there.
Yeah, I want to get into that because you have really specific actions on that you do. And
I thought you were going to teach me about business.
Well, I was going to
Cody.
say it does apply to business too, because there are business predators everywhere.
Yes.
And they also go after the people that look like they're going to fold, and I think there's a lot of reasons why, if you're pretty serious in business, there's a great reason to like never settle a case. If somebody comes after you and you think that it's ridiculous and they're just trying to be litigious, it's like, no, I will go and spend much more than it would ever take to settle with you because I refuse to allow this precedent to happen. And I think in business, you have to kind of show that you're really not to be trifled with and that you're not scared of coming out against somebody, because bullies exist in business like everywhere else. In fact, maybe more, because a lot of people think that business is a zero-sum game. And in order for me to win, you have to lose. And so those people can be a whole different type of predator. And if you come out and, and to be fair, it happens a little bit more to women, I think, than men, because they don't, a lot of times I have a couple guys who are very public and big public figures too. And, the things that come after them are slightly less than they do me. And so I have had to, in some ways, come out and really sort of establish myself and say, like, I'm not going to tolerate that. You're using my IP. That's infringement. That's libel. This is your chance to have a lawsuit. I don't care if you post it online about it. It's no problem. And so it's unemotional, but it's like, I think I've gotten comfortable enough with it by this idea of like some form of, not that they're bad people, but just justice in the instance. Like if I can handle going after somebody that is operating in a bad manner or in bad faith, and I have enough money and I have enough like capacity to deal with it, but I don't, just because I don't want to, then they are going to go after the next version of the child, the elderly, the woman. They're going to go after somebody who's like an easier target next. And so I do think, as a good business person, you have like some responsibility to be like, no, I'm going to bury you if you act like that, because we don't allow that in society. There are like repercussions to negative actions. And that's like why we have the society we have. But the part that I was curious about for you is I read somewhere about a study that talked about the way that predators choose their prey. And I thought it was so applicable for probably how business predators prey too. Do you remember that study about?
Yeah, there's multiple studies, but
Okay.
essentially like anybody who picks prey or even targets, they look at the person, they look who can go easy, they look for opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give them a suitable target, I have to have a suitable target to prey.
Yeah.
If I don't have a suitable target, I'm not going to take it. So you want to think about that, like, am I giving you a suitable target?
Mm-hmm.
So I can negotiate with you, but in the back of my mind, I'm not a suitable target. So I want to make sure that person feels I'm not a suitable target. And I'm with you. I don't really go after, I'm busy, right? I got things going on.
Yeah.
But there may have been like a couple of times where somebody may have crossed into my lane where I'm like, no, that's wrong on principle. And I'm going to make sure you know it.
Yeah.
And so even in business, and I agree with you because it's like, no, a hard no. You think you can't do this and think twice. People afraid, when they think you're not going to bite back, it's a lot of times we think like, if I just mitigate and just leave it alone, I can control the monster or I can control this person. No, like when you know somebody is like not good, the more you pull back, the more dominant they become. You create more space for them to fill.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's strategy in avoiding conflict. But when you create dynamics where you give this person so much space to kind of dominate over you, and then you have to be careful because it can happen incrementally and over time, and then you're in this really subservient role, and you're thinking, how did I get here? And now you can't get out from under it. And business is like that. Just because there are the behaviors that people may have in crime doesn't mean I have to be a criminal to hurt and prey on people.
Yeah.
I can manifest that in business. It's a power trip.
Mm-hmm.
It's a power trip, like serial killers or serial rapists or people that do that stuff. It's a power trip.
Mm-hmm.
They do it because I want power over you. So in business, I hear it all the time when I speak at companies, when they bring me in. I can't tell you, especially afterward, people will come to me and say, I have this boss, or I have this client, or I have this, and they're being bullied. Yeah. How do I handle it? Tell me what to do. And a big part of the issue that they have is you've created a system around you where you're waiting for these folks to not behave this way because they shouldn't behave this way because you think it's wrong. And I get you think it's wrong, but they don't think that they're wrong. They think, what? I'm being like a boss. I'm being this. I'm being like, this is the way it's done. Change the dynamic and system around you so that people aren't crossing over into you. But it becomes hard. It's a hard thing to undo. Like if you're in a business environment, you've been there for years and people have just been crushing you and dominating you. I don't mean to be negative, but there's almost no way to fix that. You have to leave and go somewhere else and start anew and start from the beginning. Because once you set the tone for people on how to treat you, it's done. It's so done.
That's fascinating. So let's say that person who has been sort of beat up and dominated at work goes to a new place and it's their first day and it's in their first meeting in the business. How do they show up like physically and verbally so that people take them more seriously and like put a little respect on their name?
Don't talk a lot in that first meeting. Say nothing. Half the meetings I go to, I say nothing. You don't need to talk. Nobody cares. Like, unless you have something of value to say, you don't need to say anything. Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Evie. Thank you for having me here. I'm done. So unless you're contributing, don't talk. Show up. Be serious. Dark colors. I'm not being funny. Just wear dark colors. Wear a suit jacket. If they're not, I did something with my husband because he just retired from the Secret Service and Homeland Security. We were doing an event where he was I'm like, come speak with me. He's like, oh, okay. And everybody there at this event was dressed down. And he's like, oh, I don't need to dress up. I said, no, you're going to wear a suit. And I don't point at him when I do this. I'm like, no, I want you to wear a suit. And no one's seen you before. And you're going to be on that stage and I want you to own it. And the fact that you chose to wear a suit shows everybody I respect you and honor you. And I showed up in a suit when everybody else is dressed down. Mm. It also says something very powerful about you. And sure enough, afterward, he's like, you were so right to make me wear that suit. So I just want you to think, what presence do I bring? And what am I trying to emanate? Dark colors. And for ladies, I'm sorry, drop the pinks, drop the yellows, I like light colors, but what message am I trying to bring? You know, the day you're showing up is not the day to try that new blue eyeshadow. I want to be honest with people, because when you show up authentically you, and then you're scratching your head, why didn't anyone respect me? It's bring that version of you. When I was an agent, I hardly ever wore my hair down. Hardly ever. Now I wear.
Noticed that about you in videos. A lot of times it's up.
Always. And I'm used to it, but even as an agent, I wanted to be taken more seriously. I had really long blonde hair. There was no way I was going to cut it. I already really took on very masculine attributes to it an extent. So I was like, the hair I'm keeping. When other girls were cutting it off, I'm like, no way the hair is staying. So I wanted to hold on to that part of my femininity. I don't want to lose it, but it was always up. Because if I showed up like this for an interview, like, hey, how's it going? Right? You have to just think of what version you're bringing. If I'm doing, like even to this day, if you're in a room with all male, I'm going to wear pants. Just little things you can do. I'm going to show up. I'm going to sit at the table. My hands are going to be on the table. I'm not going to sit on my hands like I'm 5.
Interesting.
So I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna be here. I'm not gonna have my phone on the table. I don't care if everybody else is on their phone. I'm here. I'm alert. You're also telling people I'm alert. I'm watching everything that's going on around me. Forget the whole get off your phone because it's not good for you, because it's not. Put that aside. I'm here. I see you and I see you and I see you. My head's on a swivel. I know what's going on. I'm paying attention. You just set the tone. This lady knows what's going on around her, or guy.
It's a really good point because you're also very pretty. And I think...
Thank you, Cody.
Yeah, totally. And I think, when I was younger and starting out, I did the cut my hair thing, which is a terrible mistake for me, but wasn't a good look. But I cut it really short because I thought that I wouldn't be taken seriously. I was kind of cute, whatever, little Latina. And I did get taken more seriously because of that. Because immediately, whether we want to admit it or not, good looking, and I like makeup, you like makeup, and our hair looks nice, and we wear a certain thing, there's an immediate trigger and judgment. And then at some point you get to become enough of a pro that you almost have to go the opposite way. Like, I don't know if you've ever found this, but I now find that I dress a little bit more feminine now than I ever have before, because I come in like a fucking freight train half the time on the internet, and it's intimidating. It's not relatable. And so I'm almost opposite that.
Well, the thing with social media and the internet, people know who you are now before they actually meet you. Yeah. So they already have an impression of you. And that's where people also need to be careful. The first time they meet you nowadays, is not in person. It's on the internet. So watch what you post.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just watch what you post, watch what you share. But I do agree with you. So you have that ability now because you've built yourself to that point to show up a little more how you want to show up. When I first started doing the news, you brought up to bring up the hair thing again. One of the things I was told was to cut my hair, because so I could be taken a little bit more seriously when I did the news. And there was a window where I did it, not too much. I did it a little bit. Then I started pulling it back. And then I just was like, I gave up so much I don't want to say it, but as a woman, I let go of so many things when I was an agent. And like my hair thing is just a psychological thing where I'm like, I'm not losing the hair. I'm not losing the makeup. Yeah. I remember one day I was at the White House and we were in what they call the down room. And it was like the morning shift where you start at 5 a.m. I would wake up at 3 a.m. I'd pull my hair back, but I'd wear a nice suit. I'd do my makeup. And I still wanted to hold on to a part of me. And I remember one day, one other female agent walked in that morning. It was like 5, 6 a.m. I can't remember. She's like, why do you bother? She's like, why do you do that? Like, why do you bother? I remember looking at her. I'm like, well, I bother for me. And if I can't look my best in the White House, where am I going to look my best?
That's so true. You're like, there's one spot.
And I just didn't want to fall into that space because I would see a lot of females fall into that, where you don't have to sacrifice. I don't have to talk like a guy or act like a guy or be a guy to be respected. There's a balance. And so I held on to that part for me. So I'm not going to shop at Joseph A. Banks. Sorry, Joseph A. Banks. For my suit, because I want to fit in.
Yeah, you got to draw a line somewhere. But I do think like the more you're a pro, the more you get to draw that line. So if you feel like you can't be authentically yourself to come to a job yet, and that is somehow important to you, that you can wear whatever you want, do whatever you want, get better, because the better you are, the more you get away with.
Well, bring your authentic business self.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Bring your authentic business self to the job. That's it. It's bring the version of you that resonates at that job, not the version of you that goes clubbing or to the bars or hanging out or to Coachella, like that version of you, although it's authentic, it doesn't go there. Even sometimes my people that work with me or for me, if I have an event, I will, if I know that they don't wear suits a lot or they dress a certain way, I'm like, we're going here, I want a suit.
Yeah.
And they know me, I'm like, it's not that I'm not loving who you are, but we need to adapt to this environment that we're going to, and you're going to bring that version of you.
It's actually a gift to say that to some people when they're younger, because, you know, if you want to get paid like a pro, you should dress like a pro. And thankfully, we both learned that because of your background. I was in finance and investment banking. Like, it just wasn't an option. You wore a suit. That's just what happened. But I think a lot of younger people these days, that's just, the world's changed so much. I mean, I'm not that old, but I had to wear pantyhose. I bet you had to wear stuff like that too. Like pantyhose if I wore a skirt. And now, you know, like I was in my office the other day and there were like two people with like 6-inch crop tops, like belly buttons showing. And I was like, not today. Not today. Like, listen, we have people come in the office. You got a great looking 6-pack, but like, it's not for here. It's just not appropriate. Like, unless you want my husband coming in a, you know, crop top, and nobody wants to see that hairy, you know, like it's not necessary.
But it's also, here's the thing, it's also an extension of you, Codie.
Yeah.
So if I hire you and you work for me, you're an extension of me, of my brand, of who I am, my ethos. Like you are by proximity tied to me. And so I want the version of you that works best with the brand and culture that I'm trying to create. And if it's not that, then I appreciate your authenticity, but that's not, when you do that, you make it about yourself. So what you're also saying is, I'm not a team player. I just care about me, and I dress for me, and I do me, and whoever likes me. And again, you can do that, but you will be isolating yourself from opportunities and from people wanting to bring you in. Like, you want to be adaptable. You know what the key to being powerful in life is? And survival? Be adaptable. I can adapt. You throw me anywhere, I will adapt. I will morph. I will blend. I will do. It's still the genuine part of me, but I'm adapting. When I went to Coachella, I looked like I was supposed to be in Coachella when I was in the Secret Service. When I went to,
You went to Coachella with the Secret Service?
I went when I was protecting Barbara Bush, which is George Bush's daughter. So I was her assistant detail leader. So I was the person who traveled with her, and I had a team. And so with her, the big thing was, because people didn't recognize her. When she was with Jenna, they were together, they knew the Bush twins. But when she was alone, you couldn't really tell. So to not draw attention to her, we would blend in. So if I'm going to Coachella, I'm not going to show up in my sunglasses and a suit, because right then and there, I'm drawing attention to her. Yep. So I would dress in a way where I was still tactically sound, but I blended in the environment for safety reasons.
That's fascinating. I'm just trying to picture a bunch of Secret Service agents.
We were at Coachella. And you know what's wild? I think we saw Taylor Swift, and I had no idea who Taylor Swift was. She's like, oh, we're going to go see Taylor Swift. I said, who? She's like, what do you, who? I was like, who's that? She's like, you don't know who that is?
We got to find this picture of like all the hot Secret Service agents at Coachella in outfits.
We were backstage. I had no idea who Miss Swift was. And apparently my protectee was good friends with her. And so, you know, but still I'm like, wait, we got to be careful. She's like, it's Taylor. I'm like, I don't care. I don't know the people around this person.
You start frisking Taylor Swift. That would have been good.
So, but well, actually I've magged quite a few celebrities. I didn't.
What does mag mean?
Magged. So I would run magnetometers over them.
Oh, like a
and
metal
I would
detector.
search them. Yeah, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I don't know who you are. And just because you're somebody out there, it doesn't mean that you're not capable. I mean, you would have people, I would come across all sorts of stuff. I'll leave it at that. Yeah. So.
Well, and, you know, at the end of the day, only downside for you. Like, who cares if you have to frisk them?
I did my job. I don't, you know, my goal was to protect, and it's probably the most powerful person in the world or the people around them. And so I was very thorough.
Yeah. God, it must
Nicely
be so
thorough.
Annoying how many questions you get asked about this, because I am restraining myself. But do people just ask you the weirdest things about your time in the Secret Service?
They do. You know, when I was an agent, I would lie to people. I never told people what I did. I didn't want to ask questions.
What was your go-to?
I would go to was a hairdresser. And the reason was because my mother was a hairdresser. So I grew up around it.
So you
And
could
I
talk
would-
the talk.
I knew what it was. I helped her in the salon. Like I would sweep the hair from the floor. She actually had me shampooing people when I got older. I literally helped. And so I knew how to address people when they ask questions. And when I said that, oh, okay.
Just
No-
went away.
Yeah. And nowadays I answer like to a point, probably like your husband, right? Like
Totally.
it's hard. You want to share things, and then there's a part of you that there's a humility to it where you don't want to put it out there like that. Like I share to help. And even if I share stories, I always think I'm not sharing a story to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
If I share a story, I want to make sure that the reason I share the story is adding value, or there's a lesson or something I'm trying to share that helps the other person, that I'm not just sharing it to share.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, the worst one he gets asked is like, how many people have you killed?
Oh my God,
I'm
I knew
always
you were
like,
going to say that.
Jesus
How
Christ.
many people have you
Yeah,
killed?
it's happened in front of me a few times. The first time I was flabbergasted. I'm like, I never,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would never ask that. It's almost like asking an even worse version of body count, you know? Like, hey, what's up? How are you? How many people have you slept with? You're like, what? Why would you ever ask somebody
Because
that?
stuff like that's glorified. You know, if you watch
Yeah.
video games, media stuff, it seems like it's not a thing, and it's a horrible. Like, you know, I've been asked that
Really?
quite a few times. Like, who have you killed? Have you killed? Probably not to the extent he has. And I'm like, it's
What do you respond?
I don't.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just a dumb question. Like, I don't mean to call people. It's just a really insensitive thing. Now, I've not been to the theater of war, so I have nowhere near like that type of exposure experience.
Yeah.
But that's like, to take a human life is like it's just like a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I mean, people are nuts and will ask all sorts of wild questions. But I do think your change of like, thank God there are people today that are willing to share some of the experiences that they feel comfortable putting forward, because then we get to learn. We get to learn from your experience.
Yeah.
And when Chris talks about stuff that he likes to bring up, I get to learn. I learn a ton about leadership from him, you know, but the cool thing, and I bet your husband's the same, like I'll hear new stories from him all the time because he doesn't bring it up that much. And he'll be like, yeah, that one time with that Afghan warlord. And I'll be like,
No.
I've never heard of this before. What are you talking about? But yeah, he's kind of silent.
You know, I want to say this. The way you know somebody's really tough or strong, they don't advertise the stuff they've done. The quietest people were the most lethal people.
Mm.
And my husband's like that. Like, he will barely talks about nothing, and like he could break you like nothing. And so he's done so many things. So I always respect and admire. For anybody, you want to know who's tough? It's the guy or gal that doesn't need to tell you how tough they are, because they just are, and they know it.
And they often don't dress like it. Like my husband, if you saw his outfits, I'm like, is this a fourth grader's birthday party? Like, what are we doing today? It's like a tie-dye shirt, corduroy shorts, and like he calls them Jesus sandals.
Because he doesn't care.
He doesn't. He has nothing to prove, that
He
dude.
doesn't care.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to that thing. Like, the better you are, the more things you can get away with and the less you got to project. And so, like, if you don't like where you are today, just keep trying to be better. And then I do feel like you get to assert your will on the world a lot more, you know? And like, one of the other things that I think is really interesting about you, and then I have another friend who has, like, I don't know if I would call it similar background, but Chris Voss, who was in the FBI. And what I always find interesting with Chris is his intonation and how he uses his voice. But I had never met another woman who had done, because I can't mimic Chris Voss. He's got this crazy, you know, baritone voice.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a lot of lessons that you've learned about, like, how do you communicate in order to be respected as a woman? And how does your voice change matter in the way that you respect? I know there's a word for it, but I can't remember what
So
it is.
the term is called paralinguistics.
Mm.
So it's what you sound like when you speak. And it's actually truly for both men and women, because some men have high voices. There's a couple of things. So some people organically have a stronger tone, and men typically have a deeper tone. For women, you just want to find your truest, genuine, deepest tone. You know, hi, I'm Evie. Hi, I'm Evie. So you want to find that tone. And sometimes over the years, you have to think of like your voice, it captures things that you've accumulated over your lifetime. Maybe you were in abusive relationships, or you had parents saying, be a good girl, or don't talk, or don't this, don't that. So our voice captures all that stuff. So your true voice is not your true voice, the one you use. So you want to really think about, what do I sound like? I always tell, and I talk about this a lot with companies, when I have people saying, nobody listens to me. And I'll say to them, well, what do you sound like? The majority of communication is not what you say, it's what they hear. So listen to your voice. I was lucky in that when I would conduct interviews, I would have to record myself, so I would hear my voice. And then when I left and I began doing the news, I had to watch myself and hear myself, which is really messes with you. And I even had to step up my game even more. And I actually took voice and speech classes at an acting school. People ask me, what do I do for my voice? And I tell them, hands down, go to acting school, take a voice and speech class. One, they'll teach you to use your voice. They teach you to project your voice. And then they put you in front of other people, and you have to take on roles where you have to use energy and do it in front of other people. And it's a great way to build your confidence. But I learned to use my voice, because if I'm talking about an attack or shooting, because I cover national security and law enforcement issues for NBC, I can't sound like this.
No.
You know, I have to strengthen my voice so that the listener can believe that I know what I'm talking about. So think of your tone. The other thing is project out. So when you're speaking, own what you say. I go back to my college students, where I'll have them ask, I'll ask a question and I'll say, tell me about blah, 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 blah. And I'll pick on them. And when they answer, and I'm like, I can't hear you. And I will tell them, I'm like, this is the place to make mistakes. Own your voice. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Nobody cares. And so I always try to please project your voice. It's okay. I'm not telling you to, it just means project means just make sure people can hear you. It's very also annoying to the listener. I can't hear you. I don't have time to keep asking you to repeat yourself. Just say it. Let's work together and move on. That's the other part of it, projecting your voice. And then the other thing to think about when you speak is make sure, and this is very dominant today for no matter what gender you are, is, hi, I'm Evie. Hi, I'm here with Codie Sanchez. Hi, I'm Evie. I'm here with Codie Sanchez. I said the same thing, but I'm speaking different. So you always want to go down when you speak. Those are very simple things to do for your voice.
How many people do you think sound on the uptick typically?
A lot.
Is that a majority? People do not even realize that they sound that way.
No, I think most people speak like that because I think it's a generational thing. I think it's just what's dominant in the culture right now. So what I hear, I absorb. My husband sometimes will do it sarcastically in front of our little one. And I tell him, I'm like, please don't do that. I don't even want her mistakenly to start speaking like that. So it does happen, and you'll hear men and women do this. So just things to be conscious of when you speak. So if people don't listen to you, or if you share an idea, this is another thing I hear in business meetings. I shared this idea and then nobody paid attention, and then somebody else said it and everyone paid attention to this person. And my first thing is, what did you sound like when you shared that idea? Did you sprinkled it out there very lightly, and then this person took it and they owned it?
Yeah. The other part too is really pondering what you're going to say first. What I find a lot that happens with people who aren't listened to is they talk a lot, to your point. They're unstructured in their thoughts. I haven't been as thoughtful about tone, so I'll have to think about that.
Yours is fine.
Yeah.
You're good.
Good. Thanks. But they have this wide-ranging concept that they want to have that could have been distilled into 3 sentences. And so that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is before you come up with your idea, can we make it real brief? Hey, I think that we should start a podcast, and I think that we should have a former Secret Service member on it. what do you think about that? Who should we choose? As opposed to like, yesterday I was thinking about the fact that we might want to have a podcast with somebody from the Secret Service because like they're super in the news right now, and maybe what we would do, and you're like, fucking, that's too much. I'm already bored. And so
land the plane.
Yeah, land the plane.
There's actually there's science that shows the more verbose you are, the more words you use when you speak, the less credible you appear. So when you can get to your point with less words, you actually appear more credible.
So do a lot of companies hire you then to teach their teams how to do this too?
No, I don't do it. I could, I suppose, but I'll do keynotes.
Yeah.
So I get asked to go to big companies and I'll give a keynote. I don't have the, between like doing the news and all the different things I do. Yeah. You could do training, I suppose. Like I do get asked, yes. I get asked, okay, can you come train our people? And maybe business-wise, Cody, you could give me some guidance.
Just
maybe
add
I'll launch that
to
way.
Your keynote, you know.
I can learn how to do that because I work with a lot of agents too who you had to master it. A lot of people don't realize like we were liaisons more so than anything. So you had to. I was a liaison for the U.S. government. So when I would go overseas, I would have to bring my best negotiating skills and speaking skills to deal with foreign governments, which often didn't like you, but you had to really monitor how you spoke. I mean, you were a diplomat. And so you would have to be able to deal with conflict, debate, disagree, and speak well without causing problems where the White House is getting a call and like this agent Pompers you sent, she's a disaster. Don't send me somebody else. Like you didn't want that phone call coming in because you were a hothead or inconsistent or not reliable or didn't speak well and couldn't negotiate well. Like you were representing the U.S. government when you would travel. So one thing in the U.S. Secret Service, because I've probably dealt with maybe a third of the foreign countries in the world. And so it's a big weight because if you say or do the wrong thing, you could really hinder international relations. Even though you're looking at it, well, you're coming from a security standpoint. No, I'm representing the U.S. government. So to them, I'm like, I might as well just be hanging out in the White House all day with the president, hanging out like his best buddy because I represent him and the country. The other thing too is we would have to negotiate and deal a lot with staff, whether it was White House staff, whether it was other congressional staff. And again, your appearance and demeanor matters. You can't just come in like a thug and bully your way, strong your way in. Like you have to really bring a very professional, respectful self. And sometimes you would be dealing with very special personalities and you had to be very mindful. I never wanted, and to this day, I don't want to give anybody a reason to say she said this and because she did this or she said that, she's unprofessional. It's like I never wanted to give anybody that gift.
It also is like a power play, I imagine, a lot of these negotiations, because yes, it's about security, but it's, oh no, I want the president to come through this way so that all my people can see him. And I want this to happen over here. And actually my flag should be here and his flag should be there. And I imagine all of that is a negotiation where not only do you have to quote unquote win, because you do need to have X happen in order to keep security, but also you can't make them mad. So you have like two bosses there, which is...
You can't offend them. You can't make them mad. Like there was a really difficult line to cross. You can't be hot-headed. Sometimes it's as simple as I was at one event in one country. They wanted to have a meeting with the president. And this country shows up to where I'm at. And I'm like, I'm not the decider, but you can't go in. So I call White House staff over and I'm like, hey, this country's here. I'm not going to say what country. Trying to find the right word, very intense country in behavior. Every country had their behavior. And I'm like, come here. They want to meet with the president. Come talk to them. So they send this White House staffer who's a very nice, super nice person, but comes in a little bit mouse, like very soft. And they literally, the delegates encircled this White House staff member. And the White House staff member was trying very nicely to say, there's no time for him to meet with you today. We can try. And they were very offended by it. How could your president not make time for our president? And it started to turn into like, I'm like, they're going to just devour this guy. And I had to step in and say, hey, why don't we calm down and we'll find a resolution. and then it turned on me and I was just like, oh, no. Oh, no. And I told the White House staffer, leave and go come back with 5.
Yeah.
But you have to bring strength as well. So that's a really good example of when this White House staffer showed up, all good intention, came very nice. And you can't show up very nice with this country. This is a country that'll eat you alive. So you want to bring your professionalism, you want to be respectful, but you want to bring that essence like, hey, why don't you calm down? You don't need to say it, but you exude that strength because then people won't cross that line.
Is much of the negotiation that you learned in that job and others like pre-preparation? Like almost really, it seems like a lot of the moves you make, X situation happens. You don't just really react. You kind of have to take a minute, think about what's the context, who am I combating in some situation, and then what's my prep that needs to be done? Like, is most of negotiation one and communication one in the pre-preparation, not the actual like activation? I mean, even your like, okay, we're going to go in, you're primary, and I'm going to like slide back thing.
Roll back.
Roll back, right. These all seem very, like you're spending a lot of time prepping for almost everything that you're doing. Is that right?
It depends. The more you prep, the better prepared you are, the more confident you are. So over time, you do less prep because you know what to do.
Yeah.
But anytime, if you're talking interviews, if I did an interview with a partner, we never walked in cold. We sat down, we went through our questions. What are we going to say? Who's going to be primary? Who's going to be secondary? What do we think we should ask? How do you think this? We always plan that out. There's something also called predictable dialogue, which means you may go in to do a business pitch. And there's different ways it could go. The one could be like, great, I love this. Or I want more information. Or are you joking? Whose idea is this? This is the dumbest thing I ever heard. So predictable dialogue would be, I would prepare dialogue for whichever direction that person went. So I was prepared for whatever direction you went. So if you do a business pitch, for example, you don't want to be shocked when they push back and say, I think that this isn't a good idea. Well, how about this or this and that? You come in prepared. And so also you're not like, it doesn't feel like a punch in the face when they call you out on something or they push back. So that's predictable dialogue. I will predict the dialogue you're going to have with me so I could have the response to that dialogue. I'm prepared. The other thing to do, which is really important in business, and that we would do is rehearse your opening line. So don't go in and wing it. Please don't go in and wing it. Rehearse your opening line. And your opening line should differ for each pitch you're doing, depends who it is. Is it a CEO, a CFO? Is it just a lateral employee? You adapt how your opening line is for the entity you have. And then also, what is their disposition? Are they very strong? So you bring a little bit more strength. Are they a little bit softer, more shy? You bring it down. You want to adapt. It's always adaptability. Who do I have? I adapt. That's why that whole authentic thing that you talked about before, it does not work to your advantage. I want you to be an adapter. Who would I have? I'm going to meet you. What we try to do and what society tells you to do is make them come to you. Yeah, You're so special that you make everybody bend to you. You make them, how insecure am I that I need to make everybody come to me? No. I see who you are. I just read you. I understand you. I see what your values are because I've shut the fuck up and I'm listening and I read you well. And now I'm going to adapt to you and I'm going to meet you where you are.
So much more powerful. I mean, you don't get mad at a chameleon when it changes its color. You're not like, well, chameleons are always green. I'm green. That's authentic. You're like, no, the chameleon's kind of a badass because no matter what's going on, the chameleon can blend right in. Nobody can even tell it's there. And I think that's the same thing you're talking about in business and in life. It's like have the ability to still be you. The chameleon's still there, but it's able to actually blend into an environment. And man, if you could do that paired with preparation, like I think there's something about, and all of this is actually preparation because you're just being quiet and learning before you talk, even just in an instance. But really deep preparation that is personalized is so hard to push back on. It's so sexy. I mean, it's like when somebody else feels like they actually know you, when something is prepared perfectly for you,